As soon as Xia Hong and his group retreated, the area near the mountain wall fell into silence. 100 breaths later, within the arrow bamboo forest, He Meng emerged again with 14 others, looking from a distance at the barely visible outline of the great Xia group. He Meng's expression was somber, a flash of coldness in his eyes. They've posted sentries at the back. These people are quite cautious. There are too many of them, and the leaders are quite strong too. Can't force them to stay. The leader, named Xia Hong, his long blade is stained with the blood of the Rat King. He's very strong, not yet at the cold resistance level, but should be close. More than 100 from the logging realm, and they're equipped with over 100 bows. And that's just those who went out, not counting those who stayed behind. This great Xia must be a large camp. Most likely there are cold resistance level experts. It should be a large camp, no doubt. Lu He said before that there was only a medium-sized camp called Rog, and 5 or 6 small camps around Redwood Ridge. How did this great Xia camp suddenly appear? Hearing the discussion, He Meng's expression turned downward. Recalling how Xia Hong had led over 100 people to drive his group away just now, the coldness in his eyes intensified. He merely proposed taking all the prey as a test. If Xia Hong had agreed or shown any sign of compromise, He Meng could have estimated the strength and quality of the great Xia camp. But Xia Hong's outright refusal and confrontational attitude made him more cautious instead. So even though he knew that the people of Great Xia, who had just successfully driven away hundreds of rodents, must not have many iron arrows left, and even though Xia Hong and his people were not in full condition, he still held himself back with his group. What exactly is this Great Xia about? Go back and ask Elder Lu and we'll find out. If it's a large camp with at least 2,000 people, reporting to the Lord would be a great merit. Let's go. Hearing this, everyone nodded, their faces showing some excitement. Clearly, the great merit He Meng spoke of was highly attractive to them. He Meng and his group re-entered the arrow bamboo forest, while on the other side, Xia Hong anxiously led the great Xia group back to their valley base. Seal the passage, everyone get indoors, and for the next 3 days all outside activities are halted. We'll make arrangements after 3 days. Returning to the second-floor hall of the wooden house, Xia Hong immediately gave the order. Yes, leader. Xia Chuan and the others naturally understood that he worried the Mirror Immortal camp might come scouting Great Xia in the coming days. They nodded in immediate response. All 83 rodents should be sent to the camp supply station. Have Tong Xinglong and the others expedite their processing. Luo Yuan and any other injured need immediate medical attention. As soon as Xia Hong finished speaking, several women rushed forward, pushing him into the chair behind him and began cleaning and bandaging his foot. Luo Yuan was one of the first inside, carried upstairs as soon as he came in, so not many saw the wound on his shoulder. Right now, however, Xia Hong's foot was fully exposed to everyone. Hiss! Everyone gasped when they saw the wound. The baby-sized hole pierced through the whole sole, and even though the golden sore powder was already working, some flesh around the hole hadn't healed, allowing light to pass through. A hole that big in the sole, it must hurt tremendously. Those who stayed at the camp and didn't go out tonight shivered at the sight of the horrifying wound, their hearts filled with respect for Xia Hong. The more than 100 who went out and knew about Xia Hong's severe foot injury, who faced off with the Mirror Immortal camp and still walked back with them nonchalantly, looked at Xia Hong with even more admiration. Leader, you should rest and recover. Xia Chuan moved closer to examine Xia Hong's foot wound, worry all over his face. Once he finished speaking, Zhao Long and the others also chimed in. That's right, leader, you're severely wounded, you should rest. If the Mirror Immortal camp dares to come, I'll fight them to the end. Exactly, leader, you rest, we'll handle the rest. Seeing the worry in everyone's eyes, Xia Hong felt a touch of warmth. Looking at everyone gathered in the camp, he realized he hadn't shared the night's accomplishments yet, and after a moment of thought, he spoke. By the way, did you all see the rodents we just brought back? Those who went out tonight knew well what Xia Hong would say next, showing pride on their faces. Those who didn't go out also mostly guessed, showing anticipation on their faces. The rodent horde on the north slope has been driven off. We are safe now. Aside from the over 100 who went out, everyone else showed joy on their faces upon hearing Xia Hong's words. After a moment of silence, a burst of cheers erupted. I knew it, once the leader acts, those rodents would suffer. Ha ha ha, those beasts, they caused us so much grief recently, They finally got retribution today. The valley is safe now. The valley is secure. Long live the leader. Long live the leader. The people of Great Xia, hassled by the rodent horde for over a month, finally felt relieved. Especially Chen Ying and his son, as well as the over 200 from Chen Yi camp, were overjoyed at merging with Great Xia. Those who lost relatives to the rodents were particularly emotional, tears streaming as they looked at Xia Hong with deep gratitude and respect. In the ice abyss world, the greatest need for humans was a sense of safety. This safety wasn't just a psychological need, but a practical one. The rodent horde, entrenched less than 2 kilometers away, left everyone in a constant state of anxiety. Because of this, over the past 20 days, everyone zealously practiced bow making and arrow shooting. It can be said that during this month, everyone in the Great Xia camp felt like there was a sword hanging over their heads. A sword that could fall at any moment. But now, with Xia Hong's announcement, this sword has finally disappeared. Their excitement was indescribable. Why? The cheers were suddenly interrupted by the loud cry of a baby. Everyone fell silent immediately. Even Xia Hong couldn't help but turn to look towards the room from where the baby's cry came. The cry was clear, coming from the room nearest to the hall. A baby who gave birth. Mine, it's my family. A familiar voice suddenly rang out from the crowd, and a figure quickly squeezed out and rushed toward the room. Yue Feng. Seeing the person, Xia Hong, Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, and many from the Great Xia camp looked surprised. Before Yue Feng could enter, the door opened from the inside. 3 women came out of the room. The one in the middle being helped along appeared to be around 17 or 18, draped in a beast skin cloak, holding a baby in her arms, walking somewhat weakly, obviously the new mother. Despite her pale complexion, she smiled warmly at the infant in her arms, her pupils filled with joy. Brother Feng, it's a son. I've given you a son. Hiya, that's wonderful one, you've worked hard. Seeing Yue Feng jubilantly holding his son, Xia Hong's expression turned somewhat peculiar. Turning to Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, and Lin Kai, none of them looked surprised, and he realized he was the only one unaware of Yue Feng's marital status. Big brother, you probably didn't know. Back at the dirt slope, Yue Feng got together with Lin Wan. I haven't seen Lin Wan in months. I wondered why she was always hiding in the room. Turns out she was secretly having a baby. Hearing Xia Chuan's playful comment, Xia Hong couldn't help but chuckle too. It figures that Yue Feng and Lin Wan were among the oldest generation at the Great Xia camp. After Xia Ding's early death, the first logging realm group he nurtured were Xia Chuan and Yuan Cheng, the second being Yue Feng, Lin Kai, Qiu Peng, Su Ning, and Lu Yang. Yue Feng was the oldest among them. Having a child wasn't surprising. I remember, Lin Wan is Lin Kai's sister, right? Xia Chuan nodded, replying, yes, Lin Kai went with others to seal the valley entrance. He'll be thrilled when he gets back. Becoming an uncle naturally brings joy. The ice abyss isn't a normal world. Within the camp, while men and women generally uphold a monogamous view through generations, marriage customs are less formal. Many simply pair up when they take a liking, so it's normal for Xia Hong to be unaware if he didn't inquire actively. Xia Hong pondered for a moment, glanced at Yuan Cheng and the others, and then asked Xia Chuan, who among them already found a wife. Lin Kai, Qiu Peng, Su Ning, and Lu Yang all have, and Yuan Cheng is hitting it off with Xi Ping's younger sister, should be soon, ha. Affairs between men and women always piqued interest. Xia Chuan gestured playfully at Yuan Cheng with his mouth. Seeing Yuan Cheng awkwardly scratch his head, displaying a shy expression, Xia Hong couldn't help but smile and give him a thumbs up. You've got an eye for talent, keep at it. Xi Ping's sister, Xi Lu, who Xia Hong met during the rescue at Dashi camp, indeed was quite pretty. Seeing Xia Chuan foolishly enjoying himself, Xia Hong purposefully put on a stern face and scolded, all you do is laugh, you should find a wife too. Upon hearing Xia Hong's admonition, Xia Chuan instinctively shrank his neck, but suddenly remembered something, turning back to look at Xia Hong with a teasing glint in his eye. Not just him but Yuan Cheng, Lin Kai, and several others nearby. Hearing Xia Hong's words, their expressions turned somewhat quirky. An unmarried elder brother lecturing his younger brother about marriage. Cough. Realizing his words were somewhat misplaced, Xia Hong cleared his throat awkwardly a few times, attempting to change the subject. But fortunately, Yue Feng, holding the child, came over to bail him out. Leader, today is a great victory for the camp, and my son arrives at such a time. I humbly ask the leader to name the child. Xia Hong helped Yue Feng up, who intended to bow, and took the child from his hands, a proud look on his face. The people of the ice abyss world are physically strong. For example, Lin Wan could walk out seemingly unscathed right after childbirth, but just because adults are strong doesn't mean babies are too. In fact, because of harsh conditions, the birth rate in weaker camps is extremely low, and infants inherently have more fragile constitution. This child in his hands, strictly speaking, was the first child born in the camp since he arrived in the ice abyss world. Moreover, born on this night of victory, driving away the rodent horde. And it happened right when he returned and gathered everyone for a meeting on the second floor. Indeed, it was very significant. With the threat of the rodent horde gone, starting today, Great Xia will be worry-free for a while in this area of Redwood Ridge. This signifies a new beginning, and having a newborn at this time is fitting. Let's call him Yuan. Yue Yuan. Chapter 174. Chapter 126. The Great Xia calendar officially commences. The birth of Yue Yuan added a lot to this great victory. Counting the days, from the disaster on the Earth slope to the later reception of Rojal Camp's valley, Xia Hong has been in this world for exactly 1 year. Throughout this entire year, there were no newborns in Great Xia. Xia Hong had not given it much thought before. Before the new wooden house was built, the living conditions in Great Xia were truly too harsh. There wasn't even a roof for shelter, nor land to stand a pin. Under such conditions, he felt embarrassed to ask people at the camp to have children. Initially, he never even considered increasing the population by encouraging births. But Yue Yuan's birth could be a sign that the willingness to have children among the camp's people is increasing, and Xia Hong began to take birth seriously. Inquiring about the marital status of Lin Kai and others was not just about gossip. Xia Hong's deeper goal was to understand the number of childbearing-aged people in the camp to see if any measures could be taken to stimulate births. Lu Shang Camp has already been merged with others, so there are no known other camps around Redwood Ridge. Given Great Xia's current strength, it might be a long time before they can leave this area, which means that increasing the population by merging with other camps is not feasible for now. If that's the case, then stimulating births is the only way. Looking at little Yue Yuan, who had yet to open his eyes in his arms, a long-lost softness rose in Xia Hong's eyes, and his heart was filled with deep joy. Suddenly, a whimsical thought came to mind. Xia Hong turned to the crowd and chuckled. From the start of the disaster on the Earth slope to today, how long has it been in total, does anyone remember? Over a year, right? It should be about a year and 4 months. A year and 5 months. Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, and the earliest members of Great Xia spoke one after another. Seeing everyone speak one after another, with a vague sense of time passing. Xia Hong shook his head slightly, showing a touch of helplessness on his face. This is the aftermath of the disconnection and extinction of civilization. The concept of years, months, days, hours, minutes, and seconds everyone has, yet with no dedicated tools and people to record, everyone relies entirely on memory and impression for time's passing. If I haven't remembered incorrectly, the 4th harvest of crystal fruit has ripened, and when the 5th ripens, we can determine approximately how much time has passed. As soon as Xia Hong spoke, everyone's eyes brightened, nodding in agreement. Yes, relying on memories certainly doesn't compare to the stability of the crystal fruit's maturation period. The ice tree bears fruit every 4 months, which is a recognized fact by everyone. 4 months for a harvest, then 4 harvests are 16 months, and when the 5th is ripe, it should basically be around 20 months. Crystal fruit, blue frost grass, green saliva fruit, and other vegetation. The harvesting period post-maturity, including the birth years of new camp infants in the future, all need to be documented with year, month, and day. It's unacceptable not to have a clear time frame. Today happens to be the camp's grand victory, so with little Yue Yuan's birth, let's just set it down. The others below were fine hearing this, but the collection team's people's eyes brightened immediately and nodded in agreement. Leader, if I'm not mistaken, the ice tree's maturity period should be around these days. If we directly fix the date, our collection team and logging team can plan their outings according to the date, which will greatly increase efficiency. Cheng Feng spoke up, clearly having long led the collection team, making him the most sensitive to the passage of time, and also understanding how crucial Xia Hong's proposal was. In that case, starting today, the Great Xia Year will officially be implemented, marking today as the first year of the Great Xia, the 1st of January. Xia Hong's tone was a bit excited when he said this. The others didn't understand, but he was someone with experiences from 2 lifetimes. He understood well that the establishment of a calendar is the beginning of civilization. Given Great Xia's current scale and capability, it certainly couldn't claim anything about civilization, let alone the grand goal of restoring human civilization. But at least it's a start. Without mentioning the many practical benefits of a calendar, or how much it can help the camp's development in the future, its significance alone is extraordinary. Initially, it doesn't show much, but when the Xia calendar combines with all external vegetation's growth cycles, cold beasts' activity cycle, even climate change, it's when it truly holds value. Yue Feng, Yue Yuan is your son, so the matter of the Xia calendar will be handed over to you. Besides perfecting the calendar content based on messages brought back by the outing teams, make sure to record any major decisions or changes that have happened or will happen in the camp. Birds leave their voices when passing, and people leave their names after living. Since we live in the ice abyss world, the Great Xia camp needs to leave its traces here, so that one day, if Great Xia really falls due to bad luck, it can still leave some words in this world, not only convenient for future generations, but also so we here would not have come for nothing. Xia Hong's words seemed to open a door for everyone present. Whether it's Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng in the earth-digging realm, or others in the logging realm, and even many ordinary people, all had a thoughtful look on their faces. Before, their world was simple, foraging, improving, surviving. But now, upon hearing Xia Hong's words, they had some new thoughts growing in their hearts. Birds leave their voices, people leave their names. Leave your trace in the ice abyss world. Leave a trace along with the Great Xia camp. Xia Hong didn't bother explaining much to everyone. How to live is a grand question. In truth, if explained in detail, he couldn't clarify it either. But at the very least, the current Great Xia camp can already provide these people with more choices, granting their lives broader possibilities. To truly understand this issue, it has to be done personally through all life's struggles. He himself is no different. All right, everyone get back to your business. 83 pieces of prey need processing, many iron arrows need to be retouched, and quite a few injured people need treatment and recovery, which is why Xia Hong asked the camp to pause all operations for 3 days. Of course, the most important reason was still to avoid anyone from the unexpectedly appeared Mirror Immortal camp coming to their door, descending to the ice abyss world, and being born in the Redwood Ridge area. Inwardly, Xia Hong couldn't help feeling his luck wasn't bad after all. Not to mention Great Xia camp, although weak, basic conscience and ethics remain, and it's very united, which is why despite Xia Ding's misfortune, he can remain loyal to everyone. Subsequent people like De Shi, Huang Zhao, De Chuan, and even the recently merged Chen Yi, regardless of whether it's their leaders or subordinates and regardless of their strengths, their dispositions were quite benevolent. Not to mention, there's also Luo Ming, who willingly handed over the Treasure Valley. Although Luo Ming's intention was to protect his son, the fact that he made arrangements to settle the remaining camp members before leaving his own duties as a good leader wasn't abandoned. Traveling from the Earth slope, Xia Hong encountered good camps and people. He feels his good luck lies mainly here. In truth, given the harshness of the ice abyss world, Xia Hong always felt similar behaviors like Yang Ning and Li Hu, where people's lives were treated with indifference and used as bait for deceitful monsters, should be more common. The harsher the environment, the greater the goodness or evil humanity can unleash. In fact, the previous statements by Yang and Li confirmed his thoughts. In some large, mega camps, using human lives as bait should be normal. If lives were disregarded, any worse behavior would be nothing surprising. Therefore, the weaker the camp, the more it should hide its tracks. It's not just to guard against cold beasts and deceitful monsters, but also to guard against humans. For any camp stronger than Great Xia, without knowing how it treats people or its modus operandi, contact should absolutely be avoided to prevent a situation that could lead to annihilation. Xia Hong returned to his room on the 3rd floor, sat on a chair, and looked at the large hole in the sole of his foot, slightly shaking his head. No matter how potent the golden sore powder, such a wound could not heal in a short time. At this healing speed, It will take at least half a month. Xia Hong turned to look at the table next to the chair, where 5 pieces of cold beast meat lay. His cultivation expenses did not need him to exchange for contribution points like others. Xia Chuan assigned a person daily to place 50 pounds of cold beast meat in his room. 83 rodents, the meat yield is estimated at 20,000 pounds. Including a few Teng Jiao captured recently, cultivation costs are at least covered, so being injured is good. During this half-month I can focus on cultivation to possibly increase my strength and see if I can reach the limit of 30,000 pounds. Having not tested, Xia Hong estimated that his basic strength was about 24,000, and judging by previous improvement rates, it seemed tough to reach 30,000 pounds within half a month. Plus, the injury on his foot affected normal boxing practice, so the efficiency in absorbing cold beast meat essence would likely drop. Whatever can be improved should be improved. Given the Mirror Immortal camp, they must have cold resistance level strong people, so it's necessary to break through soon. Even if not reaching the limit, I should find a way through the Arrow Bamboo Forest to see Pinxi Plain. As of now, Xia Hong still didn't know how to break through to the cold resistance level. From He Meng and his men's conduct, the sudden occurrence of Mirror Immortal camp made their practice style easy to guess. They have practically taken over the Arrow Bamboo Forest, and He Meng was even close to traversing it to this side of Redwood Ridge. It's likely not long before Mirror Immortal camp's activity reign expands northward to Redwood Ridge. By then, it's inevitable that Great Xia will confront them. Breaking through to the cold resistance level is currently the most crucial matter. Tasting cold beast meat in his mouth, Xia Hong also solidified the main targets of his next stage. If a leg is injured and immobile, then use the other leg or else the fists. In any case, it's about exerting strength. There will always be a way. However, Xia Hong's intensive cultivation had not continued for even a day. The next day before nightfall, Xia Chuan brought people upstairs, interrupting him. "Leader, there is something urgent for you." Slightly frowning, Xia Hong stopped his cultivation and sat back on the chair. "Come in." Xia Chuan came in first, holding a bunch of iron arrows, followed by 2 others, Tong Xinglong and Tong Xingsheng, both responsible for processing hunt at the camp supply station. The 2 covered their palms, sweating profusely, seemingly in pain. "What happened?" Seeing the 2 in pain, Xia Hong quickly got up. "Brother, that Rat King's blood has something wrong." Xia Chuan came over, showing the bunch of iron arrows in his hands to Xia Hong. "Didn't you draw the Rat King up the tree before and wounded it with a knife? Then Zhao Long and the others shot 12 arrows in total. We've retrieved all the iron arrows last night, including those 12 from the tree." "Go on." Having taken the 8 iron arrows from Xia Chuan, seeing the bright red bloodstains on the arrowheads, Xia Hong was first startled, then listened on to Xia Chuan, turning his gaze to Tong Xinglong and Tong Xingsheng. "Last night, we retrieved 96 of 5,000-pound iron core bows, along with Zhao Long's 3 10,000-pound iron core bows, and all iron arrows, letting Tong Xinglong and the 2 of them handle the cleaning and retouching." Tong Xinglong and Tong Xingsheng then showed the palms to Xia Hong. Their palms had small burnt areas, with the wounds already blackened and wisps of light smoke still rising. These 8 iron arrows must have struck the Rat King's body, and the bloodstains on the arrowheads are its. When we tried to clean these 8 iron arrows just now, our hands were immediately burned upon contact with the bloodstains. Chapter 175. Chapter 127. Breakthrough Ideas for Cold Resistance Level. Tong Xinglong's explanation was rather redundant. The moment Xia Hong saw the bright red bloodstain, he already had a rough idea. Cold beast blood is typically a dark green. Seeing a bloodstain as red as human blood was a first for Xia Hong. Is the blood of intermediate cold beasts red? With this suspicion, Xia Hong stared at the blood on the arrowhead for a long time, then impulsively reached out to touch it. "Big brother." "Leader, be careful." Just having suffered from a mishap, Tong Xinglong and his brother quickly admonished him, as did Xia Chuan. But Xia Hong just shook his head, not stopping. He proceeded to touch it. Since hitting the Mouse King last night, at least 30 hours had passed, yet the blood on the arrowhead still remained distinctly liquid. Sizzle! A wisp of blue smoke rose from his fingertips. The intense burning pain shot through his mind, but Xia Hong's hand did not flinch, and instead his face showed immense excitement rather than fear. This burning sensation, it's a lot like the feeling after eating cold beast meat. That's not right, it's not just similar, it's essentially a fortified version of eating cold beast meat. This burning sensation with. After pondering for a moment, Xia Hong suddenly looked up and asked the three in front of him. Is it dark outside now? Xia Chuan promptly replied, in a little while. Upon hearing this, Xia Hong immediately took the iron arrow in his hand and led the three of them out of the room, skirting around the hall to the door of the corridor. The third floor had a 3-meter-wide corridor reserved on all sides, separated from the inside by a door. Opening this door in front would lead to the corridor. Xia Hong carefully pulled the door open, leaving a small gap. Whoosh! Even though the gap was only fingertip wide, the moment the light from outside came in, it brought a gust of strong wind, making a whooshing sound. The chill in the sunlight was clearly visible, clashing with the warmth inside the wooden house, creating water stains in the illuminated areas, and the temperature around the three of them dropped noticeably. And this is within the radiation range of the iron refining furnace. If illuminated in other places, an ordinary person would unlikely last more than a few minutes and would be frozen into an ice sculpture. Despite having seen this cold sunlight before, such a scene defying common sense still felt incredibly bizarre to Xia Hong. Calming his mind slightly, Xia Hong reached out and placed the finger, which had just been burned from touching the iron arrow, under the sunlight. The wound is healed. Is it regenerating? Xia Chuan and Tong Xinglong, along with his brother, were filled with surprise and amazement. Underneath the sunlight, Xia Hong's finger wound slowly healed. Not only did it heal, but the skin appeared even healthier in tone than before. Hiss! Xia Hong drew in a sharp breath, swiftly retracting his finger, seeing it had healed. A thin layer of frost had formed, and then he turned to Xian Chuan and the two of Tong Xinglong's brothers, his face breaking into a broad smile. By sheer accident, you guys stumbled onto a breakthrough approach for the cold resistance level. Not being foolish, the trio quickly grasped the significance of Xia Hong's action. Big brother, are you saying that to break through the cold resistance level, intermediate cold beast blood is needed? Precisely. The burning sensation he experienced just after touching the blood instantly brought Xia Hong back to the time before on the hillside, when the golden-eyed demon sheep attacked, recalling the sensation when he encountered sunlight. Moreover, this burning sensation is very similar to the heat generated inside after consuming cold beast meat, but the feeling is much stronger, and it affects the outer layer of the body. The skin membrane. To break through the cold resistance level, it seems one needs to use the blood of intermediate cold beasts to reshape the skin. During this entire process, one's basic strength should continue to increase, but the most crucial aspect is gaining the ability to function under sunlight. The only uncertainty is the required amount. Feeling the subtle improvement around his fingers, Xia Hong was already 90% certain. The only question is how much blood from intermediate cold beasts would be necessary. Hiss! Turning to look, Xia Hong discovered it was Tong Xinglong mimicking his actions, placing his injured hand under the sunlight, only to retract it quickly, unable to endure the cold. Don't try it recklessly, you're still at logging realm, this cold light can't be endured by you. Just apply some golden sore powder to the wound and let it heal naturally. Handle your prey more cautiously next time, especially the intermediate cold beasts. Yes, leader. Without saying much more, after helping deal with the bloodstains on the 8 iron arrows, Xia Hong let the 3 of them leave. Back in the room, Xia Hong took out his yi blade. Pulling the yi blade out of its sheath, as expected, the green blood of the ordinary rodents had nearly dried to residue on the blade, while a small amount of bright red blood had gathered and flowed to the tip of the blade. Last night, his yi blade was the first to injure the Mouse King. Xia Hong carefully cleaned off all the blood from the yi blade, then sheathed it and sat down again to continue practicing. Trying to practice using just a little bloodstain clearly wouldn't work. To hunt intermediate cold beasts, judging from the strength of that rodent, his current hunting ability is definitely insufficient. Not to mention others, at the very least, he must first elevate his basic strength to the limit of 30,000 pounds before considering it. This being the case, unless my breakthrough method is wrong, there's no need to venture into the Arrow Bamboo Forest. The Pinxi Plain can be deferred. Xia Hong's only motivation for breaching the Arrow Bamboo Forest path to the Pinxi Plain before was to visit the hive camp and search for a way to break through the cold resistance level. Now that this issue is resolved, there's no need to venture further. Chapter 176. Chapter 127. Breakthrough Ideas for Cold Resistance Level /2. Cold Resistance Level, Cold Resistance Level. Xia Hong softly chanted twice, filled with a longing for the cold resistance level, and with a determined look, he threw himself back into his training. Without 30,000 pounds, everything is just empty talk. 2 days later, when the restriction on Xia Hong's outdoor activities was lifted, the camp immediately became lively. The craftsman workshop was nothing to talk about. The collection team and logging team people, who had been cooped up for 3 days, could finally go out, and the moment it got dark they swarmed outside. Even the hunting team, led by Xia Chuan, went out. The camp's cold beast meat stockpile was already quite sufficient. Adding to that the 83 rodents and the Teng Jiao hunted by Xia Hong's team earlier, the reserves reached a staggering level. But hunting is a habit, and given that cold beast meat doesn't pose a spoilage risk, especially since Xia Hong hadn't explicitly said to stop hunting, Xia Chuan naturally continued. The severely injured Luo Yuan was visited by Xia Hong the day after he woke up. Luo Yuan blocked a hit from the Rat King for him, and considering the situation at that time, surviving was purely luck. If that red beam had lifted a few inches higher, his head would have been pierced through. Honestly, had that hit been blocked for him by Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, or any other person from the Great Xia camp, Xia Hong wouldn't have reacted so greatly. But it was Luo Yuan. Initially, Luo Yuan was somewhat resistant to integrating into Great Xia, a fact Xia Hong was well aware of. However, judging from this experience, it was obvious he had completely integrated into Great Xia, and like the others, Luo Yuan displayed a fanatical loyalty towards his leader. With such a loyal and capable subordinate, Xia Hong was certainly not stingy and in front of everyone announced 3 rewards. 1,000 Great Xia contribution points, a 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow, and 1,000 pounds of iron ore. Upon hearing these 3 rewards, everyone in the camp showed envious expressions. Even Luo Yuan seemed a bit stunned, clearly not expecting it. On the second night after returning, all the bows and arrows hurriedly crafted by Xia Hong to deal with the rodents were retrieved to the camp's supply station by Xia Chuan. These iron core bows weren't distributed for free. Even the 3 used by Zhao Long and his brothers were taken back as well. As said before, all camp supplies are exchanged for contribution points, and weapons are no exception. In the future, only members of the hunting team going out at night will be equipped with weapons by the camp for free. Others wanting weapons must go to the camp's supply station to rent them with contribution points. After retrieving all bows and arrows, Xia Chuan immediately gathered everyone and announced the rental prices of weapons, currently just the bows and arrows, at 10 contribution points per month. Of course, if you accumulate enough contribution points, you can directly exchange them. The current price for bows and arrows is 800 contribution points, and more weapons will be introduced in the future. In short, if you want something, contribute more. The camp's recent liveliness was due to this. The more than 90 people who went out that night all used bows and arrows once, and knew well how much it helped to have one when venturing out. With Xia Chuan's announcement, a fervent wave to gather contribution points swept through the entire camp because, after all, who wouldn't want to own a personal weapon that can be passed down? So when they heard Luo Yuan was directly awarded 1,000 contribution points, everyone was envious. Hearing that he also received a 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow that they'd previously used made Zhao Long and his brothers even more restless. After using the 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow, they completely lost interest in the 5,000 pounds version and were constantly figuring out ways to exchange the other 2. No help for it, Xia Chuan's pricing is a bit harsh, with the 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow at 2,000 points. Interestingly, the combat contribution from that night on the north slope of the mountain wall was calculated jointly by Xia Chuan and everyone. Xia Hong had said before heading out that night that one rodent was worth 200 contribution points. Calculating with 83, the total contribution from that night was 16,600. With so many rodents at night, and only arrows being used, the most troublesome part was that these hurriedly made iron arrows weren't marked, making it impossible to distinguish whose they were. In the end, with no other option, Xia Chuan allowed mutual testimony, getting people to verify how many they hit or having a group verify their joint kills. This method surely had inaccuracies, but it was the only way. Fortunately, there were hardly any sly or deceitful people in the Great Xia, and everyone was very honest, calculating based on the arrows they shot, usually finding someone to verify for them. However, the result was still eye-opening. The final results were: Zhao Long and his brothers had the highest kill numbers, with 8, 6, and 6 kills respectively. Luo Yuan, Xia Chuan, and Yuan Cheng followed, with 6, 6, and 4 kills respectively. The remaining 96 Logging Realm members confirmed kills totaled only 13, and only amongst those with the best archery skills. Based on everyone's abilities, this result was reasonable. The surprising part of this result was that among these over 100 people in bows, the total kill count was just 51. The remaining 32, no need to think or ask, everyone knew for sure they were killed by the leader, Xia Hong alone. Xia Hong alone nearly matched all of them combined. Everyone then understood why the new contribution point rule did not apply to Xia Hong. If what he did was also measured by contribution points, then probably all combined might still be no match for him. Fewer kills meant fewer distributed contribution points. This time, those who really received a lot of contribution points were still the 6 in the earth-digging realm, with almost all nearing 1,000 points each, while the rest in the logging realm received less, with the most being those over 10 people who combined their kills, mostly getting 200 or 300, the highest one getting 320 points. Zhao Long, having killed 8 rodents this time, was next to Xia Hong with the most contribution points, obtaining 1,600 points, even adding his previously saved ones, still not enough to exchange for the 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow. He's like this, and Zhao Hu and Zhao Bao are even further off. The 3 brothers are now pushing hard, waiting to save up 2,000 points quickly to exchange for the remaining 2 10,000 pounds bows, afraid of being slow and the other 2 getting ahead. Deeply reclusive, staying on the 3rd floor to heal and train, Xia Hong originally did not know about these matters, but with Xia Chuan reporting up the stairs daily, upon hearing, he couldn't help but laugh, finding it amusing. Just right, during this time I won't compete for the 10,000 pounds iron embryo bow, let them 3 fight for it, also gets them to do more work. Xia Hong continued to stay on the 3rd floor, and thus half a month passed until the 16th of January, the first year of the Great Xia, and even Luo Yuan, who was more severely injured, had recovered and was able to step out of the wooden house, but Xia Hong still hadn't come down. Chapter 177. Chapter 128. The Arrival of the Earth-Digging Realm Boom Period. In the dead of night, fierce winds howled. At the entrance of the Great Xia Valley, Xia Chuan led a hunting team of 13, returning dusty and tired from the outside. Xia Chuan 3 Pray, how is it getting more each time? Luo Yuan, who was outside the wooden house with his children practicing boxing in the reserves, saw the hunting team carrying 3 prey from afar, looking somewhat incredulous. The hunting team, as long as they didn't go beyond the 500-meter boundary of Redwood Ridge, didn't need Xia Hong to personally lead. His injuries hadn't healed, so only Xia Chuan and 5 others in the earth-digging realm led the original 8 in the logging realm outside. In the past half a month, Xia Chuan had gone out 4 times, but each time he only brought back 1 or 2 prey. Tonight, he brought back 3 in one go, clearly showing that his hunting skills had become more adept. While Luo Yuan was speaking, the young ones in the reserves who had yet to break into the logging realm stopped their practice, turning their heads to look at the people in the hunting team, their eyes full of envy and admiration. The people in the hunting team, hearing Luo Yuan's praise, all lowered their heads and chuckled lightly, instinctively turning slightly to look at Huang Yang and Li Yun. Who told you to stop? Get back to practicing right now. Look at you all, haven't broken into the logging realm for so long and still trying to slack off, wasting the cold beast meat. Luo Yuan didn't notice the subtle actions of the group. Seeing the reserve stop, he immediately turned and yelled at them. Ho-ha! Most of the adults in the camp had broken through, and the reserves were mostly teenagers. Luo Yuan's strict attitude was evidently effective. Upon hearing the voice, they immediately started boxing again. Luo Yuan, practice them lightly, don't break these kids. Ha, don't worry, practice them hard like this. These brats ate cold beast meat, they're full of strength, they need to train to become something. Young ones, your brother Luo can't go out hunting recently, No contribution points, he's feeling pent up. Don't provoke him. Helatu. The hunting team chimed in jokingly. Hearing Yuan Cheng tease him, Luo Yuan couldn't help laughing in response. Get out of here, Yuan Cheng. I have 3,000 to 4,000 contribution value on my account. Even if you go out 10 more times, you won't surpass me. That's not necessarily true. I already have over 1,000 on my account. Tonight, 2 snow manes, a golden sheep, I can at least get nearly 100 points. I'll soon break the 2,000 mark, just wait. Surpassing you is only a matter of time. All right, enough chatting. Go to the camp supply station and hand in the prey. Seeing everyone getting more and more engrossed, with no sign of stopping, Xia Chuan couldn't help but interrupt. The conversation between Luo Yuan and Yuan Cheng was just a snapshot of the current enthusiasm for contribution points in the camp. Mu Dong at the craftsman workshop was constantly innovating, producing new wooden and beast skin tools with an increasing variety. Especially the recent addition of over 100 bows and arrows, which were very tempting for those in the logging and earth-digging realm, and everyone could foresee that as the camp's coal and iron resources become abundant, more and more weapons and iron tools would certainly appear at the camp's supply station in the future. All these things could be exchanged for contribution points. Contribution points themselves are a form of wealth and quantify one's contribution to the camp, so naturally, everyone started to secretly compare with each other. This comparison led to the increasing enthusiasm for going out among those in the logging and earth-digging realm, providing more motivation to extract resources for the camp. Such an atmosphere was exactly what Xia Chuan had hoped for. The contribution points rule was originally established for this very scene. On the second floor of the wooden house, after handing in the prey with the hunting team and registering everyone's contribution points, the others gradually left, leaving Xia Chuan alone, looking up at the third floor. The leader still hasn't come down today. The person in charge of registration at the camp supply station was Shi Ping. Hearing Xia Chuan's question, he shook his head and replied, "No, but when I delivered the cold beast meat today, the leader was practicing boxing. Judging by the sounds, his leg should be completely healed. He's probably just wanting to train a bit longer." Xia Chuan nodded, saying softly, "That's fine too. Usually he let us out hunting and had to manage many things in the camp, so he didn't have much time to train. Now during his injury, it's good to focus on cultivation for a while." Shi Ping agreed, nodding, looking at the third floor with a touch of respect in his eyes. As one of the 96 logging realm archers, Shi Ping was part of the group that successfully drove away the rodent swarm, where Xia Hong played a decisive role. Not mentioning Xia Hong's own battle achievements, just his calmness and wisdom in forcing the Mouse King to appear, he was more than worthy of the most credit. Having such a leader in the great Xia is the greatest fortune for him and everyone else. From the 15 people that appeared that night, the strength of the Mirror Immortal camp is undoubtedly strong, and the leader must have felt pressured. In the end, it's because our strength is lacking and we can't alleviate his burdens. If more earth-digging realm members could emerge, the leader wouldn't be so exhausted. Luo Yuan, without anyone knowing when, had come upstairs. Xia Chuan furrowed his brow slightly and said, "Indeed, the strength of the Mirror Immortal camp is strong, but that's not an excuse for their arrogance. If they occupy Arrow Bamboo Forest, so be it. As long as they don't cross the boundary, we can coexist peacefully. However, if they dare to cross into Redwood Ridge, then we might as well." "What, are we going to fight them?" A voice came from upstairs, interrupting Xia Chuan directly. Recognizing Xia Hong's voice, the 3 of them immediately looked up with joy. Xia Hong, draped in a beast fur cloak and wearing a pair of new black beast skin boots crafted by Mu Dong, walked towards the 3 with a smile on his face, his stride full of energy. Upon seeing Xia Hong, the 3 of them were momentarily stunned. It wasn't about how he was dressed or the fact that his leg had healed. Mainly around Xia Hong's body, there seemed to be an intangible aura of blood vitality, overflowing with energy and with an intense sense of power, bringing a palpable pressure upon his approach. "Big brother, have you reached the limit of 30,000 pounds?" Xia Chuan asked uncertainly. Luo Yuan's face immediately showed a look of anticipation. "Not yet, but less than 3,000 are left." Less than 3,000 left meant over 27,000 pounds. Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan both looked astonished. Shi Ping, who hadn't broken through to the earth-digging realm yet, showed a deep admiration. "Leader, your speed is astonishingly quick. I've been in the earth-digging realm for over 2 months, and my strength is only at 14,000 now, increasing by just over 1,000 pounds each month on average. Luo Yuan finished, and Xia Chuan immediately nodded. I'm about the same. At my current rate, reaching the 30,000-pound limit would take at least another year. No. Xia Hong immediately shook his head, smiling as he denied Xia Chuan's estimate. It won't take that long. I broke through to the earth-digging realm about 8 months ago. In the initial stages, the growth rate was about the same as yours. Your body should have developed a resistance to the snow mane and the 3 types of cold beast meat, which is why the growth rate has slowed. Just switch to Tang Jiao and mouse meat. Go ahead and change. Hearing this, Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan shook their heads. Leader, let's leave the Tang Jiao and mouse meat for your use first. We're still seeing increases at the moment, and we'll use it when the reserves build up a bit more. Upon hearing Luo Yuan's words, Xia Hong immediately understood their concern. Recently, to make bows, Xia Hong hunted quite a few Tang Jiao, and together with the 83 rodents harvested this time, the camp had stockpiled nearly 30,000 pounds of Tang Jiao and mouse meat. 30,000 pounds sounded like a lot. But the problem was, he used plenty too. He now needed 50 pounds a day. Since obtaining mouse meat, it had been roughly 40 days, meaning he'd used over 2,000 pounds himself. Having driven away the rodent swarm, hunting more rodents would be difficult in the short term. Without him leading, hunting Tang Jiao would be challenging, so Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan likely intended to leave these types of cold beast meat for him. No need, I don't require that much right now. Based on my current consumption, just save 1,500 pounds per month for me. The rest can be open for everyone to exchange, but the price can be higher than the 3 snow mane types. The cold beast meat is no longer a scarce resource for the great Xia, including Tang Jiao and mouse meat. If necessary, he would personally lead hunting expeditions. It might be hard to find rodents, but Tang Jiao was easy, and the yield per catch was large, so occasional kills could last a long time. The price setting was also straightforward. Hunting Tang Jiao and rodents is harder than the 3 snow mane types, making them an advanced cold beast meat, so requiring more contribution points for exchange is reasonable. Understood, leader. Besides going out, the most important task for Xia Chuan now was managing the supplies at the camp supply station, including setting the contribution value prices for various supplies. Hearing Xia Hong's suggestion, he quickly caught on. By the way, leader, there's good news I haven't shared with you yet. What's the good news? Seeing Xia Chuan's mysterious demeanor, Xia Hong immediately showed interest. Luo Yuan, obviously unaware as well, turned his head to look at him. Huang Yang and Li Yun have already broken through to the earth-digging realm, and as far as I know, Han Gang, Li Pingkai, Ying Xuan and Yue Feng are not far from breaking through either, likely within 10 days or so. Hearing this, Xia Hong's eyes lit up. Luo Yuan's mouth dropped open, recalling the 3 praise Xia Chuan brought back tonight and everyone's performance when they returned to the valley. He finally understood, shaking his head and laughing. I see, that explains why your haul was so large tonight. Adding 2 more to the earth-digging realm, and within the next 10 days, 4 more breakthroughs were expected. No, it should be more than just 4. Huang Yang, Li Pingkai, and the 4 Xia Chuan mentioned were all members of the hunting team. Besides Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, Yuan Cheng, and the Zhao Long brothers, the start line was similar for everyone else. Once a breakthrough begins, it means it's close for everyone. The earth-digging realm's boom period has arrived. Xia Hong felt a wave of excitement. With all 15 members of the hunting team breaking through to the earth-digging realm, the camp would not only experience a qualitative leap in strength. More importantly, mining capabilities would increase exponentially. He still had 83 rodent teeth. 2 rodent teeth could make a chewing teeth chisel, meaning 41 chisels from 83 rodents. 15 earth-digging realm members, each with a chewing teeth chisel. The camp's iron and coal output would skyrocket. In the upcoming hunting trips, just the 8 of you come with me. Let the 7 who haven't broken through stay in the camp and focus on cultivation, breaking through as soon as possible. Yes, leader. Chapter 178, Chapter 129, Mining Capacity Soars. Resources: wood 82,102, coal 1820, iron 1260, silver 0, gold 0. In the southern mine of the valley, Xia Hong looked pleased as he converted all the iron ore and coal stone covering the ground into system units. The previous hundreds of iron core bows had depleted the camp's iron ore completely, and the surge in wood wasn't even worth mentioning. Xia Hong clearly remembered that when he set out previously against the rodent swarm, the system had only over 500 units of coal left, and no iron at all. Now there was so much, with coal being 20 pounds per unit, which converts to 36,400 pounds, and iron 10 pounds per unit, which is 12,600 pounds. Today is the 16th, and he hadn't mined at all in the past half-month. Clearly, this extra batch of resources was mined by Xia Chuan and others. Big brother, I've worked with Yuan Cheng to equip several more chewing teeth chisels, so our mining efficiency is much higher than before. Luo Yuan and you are injured, so only Yuan Cheng, Zhao Long, and I, 5 in total, have been mining. We each have a chewing teeth chisel, and in the past 15 days, apart from going out for hunting 4 times, we've spent 6 days mining iron and 5 days mining coal, bringing out this much. The coal mine yields 200 pounds a day, the iron mine 100 pounds, and the higher the basic strength in the earth-digging realm, the more the increase, with the chewing teeth chisel doubling that, leading to a 4-fold basic output. With 5 people, that's over 4,000 pounds of coal and over 2,000 pounds of iron per day, converted to system units as 200 each. Adding to the remaining coal from before, the mining efficiency of Xia Chuan and the others perfectly matches the system's resource numbers. Huang Yang and Li Pingkai have broken through, and more will follow. The iron production should increase, and before long, this iron mine in the valley might be insufficient for us to mine. Xia Hong shook his head with a smile, naturally not taking Xia Chuan's teasing seriously. The exact size of the valley's iron mine is unknown, but it can supply Rodel Camp for over a decade. Based on the size of individual iron ore pieces, even if Great Xia's mining capacity increases several times, it would take years to finish it. This earth-digging realm's boom mainly consists of the 15 people in the hunting team, not much. However, when the current logging realm gradually breaks through to the earth-digging realm, the camp's mining ability is expected to take a huge leap. If that happens, the valley's iron mine really might not be sufficient. Xia Hong, with a slight movement of his mind, instructed Xia Chuan, who was next to him. But we can prepare in advance. Let the collection team keep an eye out for black tribulus when they go out, marking them if found. There's no need to worry about coal mines, since the golden frost trees of Redwood Ridge are numerous, indicating a rich underground coal deposit. The black tribulus is an accompanying vegetation of iron ore. Finding it means finding iron ore. Xia Chuan nodded in agreement, hesitated a moment, and then asked, Leader, the Arrow Bamboo Forest has now been assigned to the Mirror Immortal Camp, so how should we deal with the original Lu Shang Camp territory in Redwood Ridge? Upon hearing this, Xia Hong did not immediately answer but instead lowered his head in contemplation, feeling somewhat regretful about Lu Shang Camp. If it weren't for the appearance of the rodent swarm, the hundreds from Lu Shang Camp would now also be people of Great Xia, but they were delayed by the rodent swarm, and the Mirror Immortal Camp emerged from the sidelines. By convention, as everyone is merged into the Mirror Immortal Camp, the land that originally belonged to Lu Shang Camp in Redwood Ridge should naturally go to the Mirror Immortal Camp. But this is unreasonable. Moreover, Great Xia would not agree. The Lu Shang Camp's territory was initially divided by Rodel Camp for everyone's benefit. Without Rodel Camp, they wouldn't have gotten any land within Redwood Ridge. Rodel Camp gave them land mainly due to the connection of being surrounding camps of Redwood Ridge, and now that Lu Shang has merged into Mirror Immortal Camp north of Arrow Bamboo Forest, they're not considered people of Redwood Ridge. So this land naturally can't go to them. A point that Great Xia wouldn't agree to is even simpler. In summer, other sides of Redwood Ridge are unclear, but the east side, in Xia Hong and the camp's view, belongs to Great Xia's sphere of influence. To give up the rights in the 500-meter breadth to the Mirror Immortal Camp. It's unrealistic and impossible. Don't deal with it, send people to gather and hunt as usual. If they encounter Mirror Immortal Camp intruding, warn them the first time, act the second time. I want to see if everyone in Mirror Immortal Camp is as arrogant as he Meng. A cold glint crossed Xia Hong's eyes. On his return from the North Slope the last time, it was long after he realized that He Meng initially demanded all his prey and then only half, which was clearly testing the waters. A test that was evidently for the subsequent control and oppression. If he had conceded even a little, the outcome might have been completely different. This made Xia Hong realize that from the first meeting, Meng and his group had a deep-seated hostility and strong aggressive intent towards him and his people. Recollecting these incidents, Xia Hong not only felt a lingering fear, but also developed a clear dislike for the Mirror Immortal camp and even a caution towards other camps. Just right, I haven't been to the northernmost side. For the time being, I'll hunt there and also keep an eye on Arrow Bamboo Forest to prevent any new actions. The territory of Lu Shang Camp lies on the far north side. Previously, to respect Lu Shang Camp's opinion, Great Xia never crossed the line. Now deciding to include that territory into their influence, Xia Hong no longer had any reservations. Big brother, are you preparing to hunt intermediate cold beasts? The key to breaking through the cold resistance level is intermediate cold beast blood, which Xia Chuan knew. Hearing Xia Hong mention hunting in the northern area, he immediately asked, "Hunting intermediate cold beasts?" Xia Hong recalled his previous encounter with the Rat King, a hesitance flickering across his face, causing some hesitation in his heart. The strength of that Rat King was undeniably powerful, needless to say, in a one-on-one battle. But honestly, as long as there are enough earth-digging realm individuals, with well-prepared weapons, if the opponent isn't in a group, they could be defeated. The only crucial point is, rodents are low-level cold beasts, but the leading Rat King is intermediate, which suggests other types of cold beasts might also have a hierarchical division. It's unclear if other cold beasts are like rodents and are led by a head rat leading a group of normal rodents. If so, hunting any intermediate cold beast would be a fool's dream. Xia Chuan pondered for a moment and said, "I don't think so. So far, rodents are the only ones seen in groups, snow manes, frost." Before he could finish the word wolf, Xia Chuan hesitated, his expression freezing. Clearly, he also remembered the encounter with the frost wolf pack when moving from the hill to the valley earlier. Even though we didn't see the head wolf that time, it's likely frost wolves also gather in packs. Thus, snow manes and demon sheep might also group, so hunting intermediate cold beasts shouldn't be rushed. Verification must come first. As Xia Hong spoke, he led Xia Chuan out of the mine. At this time, there were still 3 to 4 hours before dawn, and many people lingered outside the wooden cabins. Whether practicing fist techniques, collecting snow water, practicing archery, or playing around, whenever these people saw Xia Hong pass by, they would respectfully stop and salute him. Xia Hong nodded with a smile, saying nothing more, but with a brief glance, he noticed over 100 of them, with more than 10 wearing clothes, and was curious. Recently, there have been quite a few new clothes. It's not that they couldn't afford it. With the camp's current hunting capacity, as long as the clothes weren't as exquisite as what Xia Hong was wearing, having a set for everyone wasn't difficult. The issue is that these clothes require contribution value to exchange, and they aren't cheap. If I remember correctly, a set of clothes requires 155 contribution points, with the beast skin and custom order from the craftsman workshop. Do these people all have so many contribution points? Xia Chuan chuckled. Big brother forgot about the rodent swarm. That night many people received a sizable amount of contribution value, aside from those in the earth-digging realm, mainly members of the hunting team and a few from the logging realm, each receiving over 200, with the highest getting 320, so exchanging for clothes is naturally manageable for them. That makes sense. Have they all exchanged for clothes, with no one redeeming bows? A weapon is the greatest security. Xia Hong was curious that such a simple truth couldn't be overlooked by camp members. The demand for clothes clearly isn't higher than that for bows. Upon hearing the exchange prices Xia Chuan set for the 2 types of iron core bows as 800 and 2,000, he understood immediately. This pricing, besides those in the earth-digging realm and members of the hunting team, seemed out of reach for others, requiring at least half a year's savings. No wonder many opted for clothes. Big brother, is the set price too high? Seeing Xia Hong's slightly grave expression, Xia Chuan was uneasy, fearing he was blamed for setting the price too high, preventing people from exchanging for them. Xia Hong smiled lightly, shaking his head approvingly. No, it's very appropriate. The difference between the right of use and ownership matters. Weapons are lifeless in the camp supply station and are ultimately meant for use. The rental fee can be low, even directly distributed in emergencies like the rodent incident. But ownership differs. Once bows are redeemed, they become personal items lost, broken, transferred, or worn out. The camp doesn't intervene tantamount to direct sale, so the price must be set high. An ordinary iron core bow weighs 300 pounds, from mining iron ore, earth-digging realms efforts, to forging it himself into a finished product. The resources, effort, and sweat spent are substantial. An 800 contribution value price, given the current scarcity of iron core bows and the applicable number in the camp, is absolutely appropriate. By the way, is Luo Yuan's injury healed? Almost. He left the wooden house a few days ago, should be very soon. Notify everyone. For the next 3 days, all in the earth-digging realm shall mine iron ore. After 3 days, I will take you 8 to the northern area, the collection and logging teams following suit, surveying the territory in the 500-meter span of former Lu Shang camp thoroughly, and from now on, the entire eastern side of Redwood Ridge will belong to Great Xia. Any other camps are not to interfere. Upon hearing the final statement, Xia Chuan's eyes gleamed with excitement, nodding solemnly in homage. Yes, leader. As they talked and prepared to enter the building, just as they stepped through the door, a sharp scream came from the valley entrance, immediately alarming everyone outside, including Xia Hong and Xia Chuan. What's happening? Their expressions changed rapidly, both swiftly heading towards the valley entrance. Chapter 179, Chapter 130, The New Deceitful Monster. That scream was so shrill it startled many people outside the cabin. Xia Hong and his companion were the first to rush to the tunnel entrance. Seeing the scene before them made their hearts pound. Inside the tunnel, a wailing and screaming man engulfed in flames was writhing and rolling on the ground, desperately reaching out for help. His body was already starting to dissolve from the fire, but upon seeing Xia Hong approaching, he recognized him at once. "Ah, it's me, Wang He, save me, please save me. Leader, save me, save me." At the mouth of the mountain tunnel, there were guards posted every day, ensuring that only those who presented the correct password when returning from outside were allowed to enter. The 2 guards had retreated in a panic, and quickly explained the situation to Xia Hong as he approached. "We were assigned to guard duty tonight. We just heard someone outside give the password, thinking it was the collection team or the logging team returning. So we opened the door and found it was Wang He from the collection team who went missing some time ago." As soon as Wang He entered the tunnel, he self-combusted after just a few steps. Xia Hong listened intently, frowning, until the man named Wang He on the ground was burned to ashes, just as the 2 finished their recount. A few months ago, among the missing members of the logging team, there indeed was someone named Wang He. But it's been 3 to 4 months. How could he suddenly return, and why is he involved with some deceitful monster? Upon hearing Xia Chuan confirm Wang He's identity, Xia Hong's frown deepened. At the moment they saw the man self-ignite, both he and Xia Chuan knew that this person on the ground was no longer the original Wang He. Since the camp had a surplus of wood, torches and solidified fire oil had been in abundance. Torches could act as bait for cold beasts during hunts. Solidified fire oil could be used to ward off deceitful monsters. Since both resources were plentiful, Xia Hong decided to make use of them. He had long ordered a coating of solidified fire oil applied all around the valley, especially at the tunnel entrance, where it was applied daily. This Wang He, connected with deceitful monsters, evidently came into contact with the solidified fire oil in the tunnel, which caused him to self-ignite, similar to when a wooden puppet monster attempted to escape using a decoy before. Many in the camp were aware of the solidified fire oil application. The 2 guards realized this too, and understood Wang He was a deceitful monster. A look of fear dawned on their faces. Everyone who gathered outside the cabin was full of dread. In just over half a year, could a new deceitful monster have emerged at Redwood Ridge? Xia Hong was also shocked, but seeing the fearful expressions around him, he steadied himself and spoke in a calm tone. "Do not panic. Within the radiation range of the iron refining furnace, deceitful monsters dare not come. Besides, we've spread solidified fire oil all around the valley. No monster can get in. You 2 clean this up and quickly shut the door." After calming everyone and instructing the guards to clean up, Xia Hong went upstairs, with Xia Chuan closely following. To know the camp's secret code and recognize people, based on his reaction before dying, he might not even have known he was controlled by a deceitful monster. Upon reaching the 3rd floor, Xia Hong's face turned grim immediately. This is likely a more difficult entity to deal with than a wooden puppet monster. Hearing Xia Hong's muttering, and combining it with Wang He's combustion, Xia Chuan realized and said sullenly, "Brother means Wang He was merely a probe for our camp's resources, and the deceitful monster is hiding behind the scenes." Xia Hong didn't answer, but his tightly furrowed brows served as the reply. Clearly, this deceitful monster was similar to the wooden puppet monster, capable of controlling humans from the shadows, and based on Wang He's last moments, its abilities were much stronger than the wooden puppet monster. Since it dared to let Wang He probe, this proves that it knew of the great Xia's Valley base, and it's quite likely, when Wang He just entered, that the deceitful monster was lurking nearby. Thinking about a deceitful monster stronger than the wooden puppet monster lurking around the valley, and eyeing the great Xia camp made Xia Chuan's back shiver. He immediately suggested, "Enemy is hidden while we are visible, brother. The camp needs to pause outdoor activities otherwise." "I am thinking, wait." Xia Hong raised his hand to interrupt Xia Chuan, thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No need, since it sent Wang He as a scout. It shows the monster itself dares not enter the valley, at least not yet. There's no need to upset ourselves because of it. As it stands, it's the enemy that's in the dark. It makes no difference if we go out or not. If it likes keeping an eye on us, let it continue. As long as there are no casualties, it doesn't exist. The camp's resources are limited. Prolonged cessation of outside activities is certainly not viable. Lumber is not an issue, but cold beast meat cannot be consumed without end. Iron mines are within the valley, albeit fine, but coal mines are at Redwood Ridge, necessitating outings. Initially, the wooden puppet monster dared to confront us because Great Xia was weak then. Now it's different. Torches and solidified fire oil are inexhaustible. There is no lack of the earth-digging realm, and more than 200 people are in the logging realm. The reason the deceitful monster knows of the valley base, but dares not enter head-on, instead sending Wang He as a scout, proves that the current strength of Great Xia is enough to make it wary. According to He Ming's style, the Mirror Immortal camp will likely violate the boundary to Redwood Ridge soon if we don't go out for long periods. Who knows, our territory might even be lost. It's not worth it to prevent encountering a monster that doesn't dare face us head-on. Xia Hong's message is clear. Not going out briefly makes no impact on the monster. It will continue observing from the dark. Slowing down camp development doesn't help, especially for him who is eager to break through the cold resistance level. Prolonged inaction leads to strained resources, risking losing Redwood Ridge's territories to Mirror Immortal camp interference, all while the monster remains unscathed, potentially growing stronger with ways to target the camp. In essence, we lose more in the long run. In conclusion, by not going out, the monster simply cannot harm our people for a while, but it still lingers in the shadows. It has ample time to wait, but we do not. When resources run out, we must eventually venture out, becoming more passive then. Xia Chuan pondered for a moment, nodded, and said, "But that would make outings very risky. During this period, everyone must be amply equipped with solidified fire oil and torches, and if possible, collection and logging teams should be accompanied by several earth-digging realm members. It's uncertain how strong the monster really is." Towards the end, Xia Chuan's expression mirrored Xia Hong's gloom. The wooden puppet monster hadn't ascended to the intermediate level, but already overwhelmed numerous earth-digging realm members, including 2 from Beishuo Town. This new deceitful monster appears even more unpredictable and capable. If that's the case, even a hunting team outing might not be safe, let alone the collection and logging teams. Let's not speculate blindly. Since the deceitful monster won't reveal itself, we know nothing of its true power and abilities. So remain calm, let it reveal itself first. If not, just assume it doesn't exist and continue as usual. Understood, brother? Despite their words, neither could dismiss it lightly in their hearts. Past encounters with deceitful monsters were too horrific to not warrant caution, lest they suffer great losses. After speaking, they headed straight to the second-floor camp supply station warehouse. "Leader, Lord Xia Chuan, we currently have 5,192 torches in stock and 1,210 blocks of solidified fire oil. Coal predominantly fuels the iron refining furnace these days, though wood can be burned concurrently. Since the lumber surplus, under Lord Xia Chuan's instructions, we have maximized torch and solidified fire oil production. We can produce up to 50 torches and 5 blocks of solidified fire oil per day." While listening to Xi Ping's report, Xia Hong recalled when he and Luo Ming had only a few blocks of solidified fire oil against the wooden puppet monster, using them sparingly. Now, gazing at the small mountain of over 1,000 solidified fire oil blocks and numerous small torches, he felt slightly dazed. Though dazed, Xia Hong wasn't particularly shocked. Considering the camp's current lumber surplus, the inventory level is quite reasonable. Burning 10 units of wood in the iron refining furnace yields 1 torch, and 100 units yield 1 block of solidified fire oil. Given the camp's logging capacity, allocating just 100 people could net over 1,000 units daily, if not more. A logging realm member with a stone axe could fell a tree in a night, yielding roughly 5 units of wood, which was true early on at the dirt slope. Today, with iron tools and teamwork using saws, an individual can yield at least 10 units of wooden resources daily. As long as no major changes occur, solidified fire oil and torch supplies should remain constant. Inform Cheng Feng and Bai Dongying about the deceitful monster. From today, anyone from the collection, logging, or hunting teams venturing out must first apply a layer of solidified fire oil at the supply station, and additionally carry a torch. Collection and logging groups must consist of at least 10 members, and hunting groups at least 3. No one is allowed to stray from sight. Regularly apply solidified fire oil around the valley and tunnels. Change the secret code for entering the camp daily. Avoid any possibility of deceitful monsters infiltrating. Yes, brother. Xia Chuan nodded earnestly and immediately left the warehouse to carry out the instructions. Meanwhile, Xia Hong stood in place, a shadow gradually covering his face. This newly emerged deceitful monster's power and abilities were unknown. They didn't even know what it looked like, and most crucially, it seemed well informed about the great Xia's situation. This passive feeling was truly uncomfortable, especially considering the immense pain the wooden puppet monster inflicted on Redwood Ridge before. A hint of trepidation lingered in Xia Hong's heart, his expression growing even more solemn. Just after driving away the rodent swarm and contending with the arrogant mirror immortal realm, another new deceitful monster appears. Is it that the great Xia is just unlucky, or does the ice abyss world truly intend to make human life impossible? Xia Hong stood in thought for a long time before finally clenching his fists. To counter soldiers with generals, water with soil. Initially, I planned to cautiously break through the cold resistance level, but clearly that won't do. I'll need to find a way to break through first. Chapter 180. Chapter 131. The entire hunting team breaks through. The panic brought by the deceitful monster visibly spread throughout the camp. Even knowing that the surrounding valleys are guarded by coagulated fire oil, the fear in everyone's hearts was unstoppable. Not to mention those who haven't yet broken through to the logging realm and are stationed at the camp. The members of the logging and collection teams who venture out feel it even more. There is no solution. The pain previously caused by the wood puppet monster left all with lasting shadows on their hearts. Even Xia Hong, the leader, was filled with anxiety, let alone the rest of them. Except for some naive children, everyone's heart seemed to be covered with a layer of shadow, and their mood was not as light as before. In such circumstances, naturally, there was much less laughter in the entire camp, and the atmosphere became tense and oppressive. Xia Hong was not surprised by this atmosphere. When he asked Xia Chuan to announce the matter of the deceitful monster, he had already anticipated it beforehand. A tense and oppressive atmosphere in the short term can bring many benefits. First, the cautiousness of the logging and collection teams when going out was much higher than before. They didn't need reminders from the camp supply station personnel to come and get coagulated fire oil and torches themselves. When going out, they also strictly followed Xia Hong's rule of groups of 10, never out of sight of the team, resulting in fewer problems than before. Secondly, the overall vigilance of the camp was rapidly improving. Not to mention the gatekeepers, the degree of scrutiny was astounding. Now there was even a dedicated team patrolling the valley. Anytime someone went out, the return checks were numerous and extremely strict. There was no choice. The fear of the deceitful monster was ingrained to the bone. Better safe than sorry, the previous experiences of the 3 camps of Great Xia, Big Stone, and Luo Yuan were vivid reminders. Once a deceitful monster infiltrated, it wasn't something that a few deaths could solve. Lastly, the matter of cultivating. This tense and oppressive atmosphere made Xia Hong and the 8 from the earth-digging realm, the below hunting team, logging team, collection team, and reserves, so that from top to bottom, everyone in the camp was noticeably more diligent and hardworking in their cultivation than before. Within a few days after that, the number of people breaking through to the earth-digging realm was enough to see it. On learning that a new deceitful monster appeared on January 17, Xia Hong ordered Xia Chuan to spread the word, and then summoned all the current earth-digging realm members of the camp, heading straight to the blacksmith room. Perhaps because the news was spread, the hunting team felt immense pressure, and Hong Gang, originally expected to take about 10 days to break through to the earth-digging realm, surprisingly did it on the second day. Hong Gang's breakthrough wasn't the end. 2 days later, Li Pingkai, Ying Xuan, and Yue Feng also broke through simultaneously. As soon as the news broke, all the earth-digging realm members in the blacksmith room erupted in a heated discussion. Originally, these four were estimated to take about 10 days. Who would have thought they would all break through in just 3 days? The hunting team consists of 15 people, so now only Qiu Peng, Zhu Shun, and Zhu Yuankai haven't broken through. 12 earth-digging realm members. Once the leader breaks through the cold resistance level, even that mirror immortal camp won't be something we need to fear. There have been a lot of people breaking through to the logging realm during this time. I guess the total should be nearing 300 by now. Not yet 283 people, but at this rate it'll be soon. Hearing Xia Chuan mention that there were 283 in the logging realm, Yuan Cheng felt invigorated, turning back to suggest to Xia Hong, who was still hammering the bow mold. Leader, we can venture into the inner perimeter to take a look at the intermediate cold beast. The others, upon hearing this, all turned their heads with expectant expressions. They all knew that the key to breaking through to the cold resistance level was the intermediate cold beast blood. Everyone was well aware that, with Great Xia's current strength, they surely couldn't handle either the powerful and arrogant mirror immortal camp or the newly appeared enigmatic deceitful monster by themselves. The recent frenzy of training was motivated by this idea. But training is one thing. They also knew that given Great Xia's total population, even with many in the earth-digging realm or logging realm, it wasn't as valuable as adding another cold resistance level expert. In truth, it wasn't just these people. The entire camp was eagerly anticipating Xia Hong's breakthrough to the cold resistance level. Clang, clang, clang. Hearing Yuan Cheng's words, Xia Hong's hammering did not cease. He merely spoke in a deep voice. No need to rush into Redwood Ridge. Let's wait a few more days and finish the bow first. Intermediate cold beast is no joke. Upon hearing this, everyone recalled the Rat King they had seen before and nodded. Given the strength shown by the Rat King when poisoned that evening, the difficulty of hunting an intermediate cold beast would likely be incredibly high. Without proper preparation, not only hunting but even survival might be uncertain. Xia Hong suppressed everyone's thoughts of venturing out and remained at the camp. Every day, it was either the blacksmith room or the mine. With 12 earth-digging realm members, whether mining or forging, the efficiency was incomparable to before. The system's iron ore reserve seemed to rise by over 400 units daily, even without his participation in mining. 4 days later, that is, the first year of the Great Xia, January 24. An even more pleasant surprise occurred. Leader, there's good news. Come in. While cultivating on the 3rd floor, Xia Hong heard Xia Chuan's voice from outside and immediately paused, then sat on the main seat. The door opened, and Xia Chuan entered with a smile on his face, accompanied by 3 others. Upon seeing those 3, without Xia Chuan even speaking, Xia Hong had a guess in his mind and stood up directly from his chair. Broken through. Leader, we have fulfilled the mission. The 3 bent forward in respect, speaking simultaneously with tones filled with excitement. The 3 brought by Xia Chuan were Zhu Yuankai, Qiu Peng, and Zhu Shun, the last 3 in the hunting team who hadn't broken through yet. Previously, Xia Hong had speculated that among the 15 members of the hunting team, apart from the first wave of 6, the rest had a similar starting line. The time of breakthrough wouldn't differ by much. As expected, the 3 broke through to the earth-digging realm just 4 days apart from the previous batch. All right, Xia Chuan, inform all hunting team members to go to the camp supply station to fetch bows. Tonight, join me in Redwood Ridge to get a sense of the intermediate cold beast. Yes, leader. Xia Chuan nodded enthusiastically. He had been waiting for a long time. Just after breaking through, being able to go into the inner side with Xia Hong, and moreover, getting to see the intermediate cold beast, Zhu Yuankai and the other 2 looked especially excited. Luo Yuan, Yuan Cheng, the Zhao Long brothers, Huang Yang. The entire hunting team quickly gathered by the notification of Xia Chuan in the camp supply station's warehouse on the second floor. Fetching bows. Isn't it just applying coagulated fire oil and bringing a few torches? We have 5 stone bows already, so what's the need to fetch? Hot-tempered Hong Gang exclaimed, and Yue Feng and the others who broke through with him at the same time displayed similar confusion. Since the 10,000-pound iron embryo bow was made, to distinguish different levels, the camp supply station classified 1,000 pounds as 1 stone, 5,000 pounds iron core bow as a 5-stone bow, and 10,000 pounds as 10 stones, used by Hong Gang and others within a few days. However, Luo Yuan, Yuan Cheng, Zhao Long, and a few others earlier let out a few low laughs, appeared to know more than Hong Gang as they had been staying in the blacksmith room with Xia Hong for several days. Gentlemen, the bows, coagulated fire oil, and torches are ready. Xi Ping and a few others from the camp supply station emerged, soon distributing 15 pitch-black iron core bows, accompanied by a quiver of arrows to everyone. At the instant of receiving the iron core bow, Hong Gang's expression was immediately stunned. Ha ha ha, now that we've broken through the earth-digging realm, how can 5 stone bows suffice? What the leader lets us fetch are 10 stone bows, and these arrows are uniquely crafted at 7 pounds each. The later breaking earth-digging realms, including Hong Gang, finally realized and fondled the iron core bow in their hands, looking extremely excited. Don't be too pleased too soon. These 10-stone iron bows are only for temporary use in hunting. To get one, you still have to use contribution value like others, 2,000 points, not a single point less. Xia Chuan's words instantly calmed everyone down, as they unanimously turned their eyes with envy towards Luo Yuan. Hezheh. Luo Yuan grinned mischievously and deliberately showcased his bow to them. Don't get too complacent. As long as tonight we can hunt a few low-level cold beasts, my contribution value can also exchange for a 10-stone iron bow. I'm almost there too. The Zhao Long brothers, who most coveted the 10-stone iron bow, couldn't help but speak out as they saw Luo Yuan showing off. All right, pack your stuff well. The monthly rental for a 10-stone iron bow is 50 contribution points, so make sure you carry it safely outside and don't lose it. Such a rental price didn't bother anyone at all. The 5-stone bow's rental price was 10 contribution points per month, and though the 10-stone bow's rental seemed 5 times as much, its functionality was far superior. Based on last time's battle against the rodent swarm, even just 2 people with 10-stone bows could collaborate to hunt low-level cold beasts. A single low-level cold beast could yield at least 200 to 300 contribution value. With this calculation, a 50 contribution point monthly rental was incredibly worthwhile. Leader. Xia Chuan suddenly lifted his head to look at the entrance, his expression turning solemn. Hearing this, the others turned as well to see Xia Hong entering from outside, immediately ending their conversations and bowing in respect. With the yi blade hanging at Xia Hong's waist, he nodded at them before moving forward, also grabbing a bow and arrows slung on his back, and after applying coagulated fire oil, turned to inquire. Is everything ready? All prepared, leader. Tonight we'll enter Redwood Ridge, possibly going more than a kilometer deep, so stay alert. I don't want anyone having issues. The intermediate cold beast isn't necessarily weaker than that long-tailed rat's king you've seen. Stay cautious once inside and act on my orders, understood? Understood. 15 Earth-Digging Realm members shouted in unison, their strong voices causing the wooden panels around the room to tremble unceasingly. The 15 members of the hunting team had been hunting together for over half a year, and Xia Hong certainly trusted them. In theory, a team venturing more than a kilometer deep into Redwood Ridge to search for an intermediate cold beast should be smaller in size. Xia Hong wouldn't have brought so many people if he didn't trust them. Moreover, Xia Hong's target wasn't simply to find an intermediate cold beast. If possible, hunting was definitely the aim. Otherwise, what was the purpose of making 13 10,000-pound iron embryo bows in one go? All right, let's set off. At Xia Hong's command, he was the first to head downstairs. The 15 well-equipped members quickly followed him. Under the envious and admiring gazes of everyone in the camp, the 16 moved out of the valley, blending into the night, swiftly heading towards the direction of Redwood Ridge. Chapter 181, Chapter 132, New Discoveries in Deep Redwood Ridge. In the Ice Abyss world, snow and wind were perpetual. This snowstorm was unlike any ordinary winter day, accompanied by endless coldness, stripping the earth of all vitality. From within Redwood Ridge, the entire land was nothing but snow upon snow. Only the huge trees, covered in white snow, stood immobile amongst it, resembling white spires dangling with countless icicles. Trees could be seen as a form of life. The reason why trees in the ice abyss world were so robust could be understood from another perspective. If they weren't resilient, how could they survive in this frigid world? To the north of Redwood Ridge, within the territory of the former Lu Shang camp, Xia Hong felt a slight relief after leading 15 people on a patrol around the perimeter. Fortunately, we haven't found anyone else or any traces of activity. The Mirror Immortal camp shouldn't have crossed the border yet. Everyone nodded in agreement, their expressions relaxing a little. The purpose of coming here tonight was to check if the Mirror Immortal camp had crossed the boundary. The absence of any signs was a good thing. The distribution of cold beasts within a kilometer of the Lu Shang camp's perimeter is similar to our area. Within 500 meters, there are a few snow manes, frost wolves, and golden sheep. Beyond that, there are only 2 Tangjiao, all low-level cold beasts. It seems if we want to find intermediate cold beasts, we'll have to go deeper. Xia Chuan summarized their patrol's findings and suggested venturing further. Upon hearing this, everyone directed their eyes toward Xia Hong in the lead. If you have time, hunt the game on the outskirts on your own. Let's go in. Xia Hong didn't hesitate. The goal tonight was clear: intermediate cold beasts. The game on the outskirts wasn't worth his time. Since it was their first time venturing beyond the kilometer range, where the environment began to feel unfamiliar, Xia Hong and the group immediately slowed their pace and quieted their movements, becoming alert to their surroundings. With no measuring tools, they could only estimate their depth by instinct. But once they truly ventured in, it became apparent that they didn't need anything other than their eyes to judge. In Redwood Ridge, the further in you went, the thicker the trees became. Due to the massive trees, the roots were peculiar, some even protruding from the ground, making the previously flat terrain complex. The trees with a diameter of over 10 meters on the outskirts were already considered big, but who would have thought this one would be even more daunting, with a diameter close to 20 meters? Luo Yuan couldn't help but exclaim, prompting everyone, including Xia Hong, to look at the tree he mentioned. Seeing the tree's form, everyone couldn't help but click their tongues and shake their heads. The tree was indeed enormous. A 20-meter diameter tree is rare to imagine for the average person. But describing it this way makes it clear. If the tree were hollowed out, it would resemble a skyscraper, capable of accommodating hundreds or even thousands of people. Even from 100 meters away, the 16 people appeared tiny before the tree. It was fortunate that they were regular visitors to the outer Redwood Ridge, familiar with grand trees, or else this one might have invoked a fear of enormous objects. It's a pity it's just an ordinary vermilion frost. Perhaps we haven't gone deep enough. So far, we've only seen the usual types of trees. Why don't we go a bit further, leader? Upon hearing Luo Yuan's suggestion, Xia Hong redirected his gaze, surveying the surrounding trees before nodding softly. While their main task was hunting, they also paid attention to the trees along the way. If they encountered any new species or rare trees, they would record and mark them. Though these tasks fell to the collection team, their first wave of deeper exploration made it convenient to record and mark things for the logging team to complete their mission later. Xia Hong led the group another 100 meters deeper, and estimating they were 1,300 meters in, halted and began to explore both the south and north directions. Shortly after, they made a new discovery. Whoa, such a large ice tree. To the north, over 100 meters away, stood a towering ice tree laden with transparent crystal fruits. The diameter of the ice tree was estimated at 17 to 18 meters, the countless crystal fruits roughly numbering 30 to 40,000, equaling 10 to 20,000 pounds. Go mark it, it's the first time seeing such a large ice tree. Xia Hong led the group northward, and upon closer inspection, they realized that not only was the ice tree enormous, but its fruits were also significantly larger than those of other ice trees. Beneath it lay a vast marshland, spanning about 50 to 60 meters, roughly corresponding to the tree's canopy extension, emitting a fermented odor, clearly formed by the decay of crystal fruits dropping over the years. This isn't really a marsh, though. At a distance, it appeared to be a marshland because this section was not snow-covered and had a faint golden fluid appearance. But as Xia Hong stepped onto it, he realized that, although the surface was fluid-like, it was only marginally softer than normal ground, with a very distinct tread sensation. It's my first time stepping on such a soft ground. Does the material from decomposed crystal fruits have such a pronounced effect on the terrain? Casually said by Xia Chuan, the words stopped everyone in their tracks, Xia Hong suddenly looking up, his face full of excitement. Realizing what Xia Hong was thinking, Xia Chuan understood as well. If crystal fruits had such an effect, couldn't they use this property to soften the valley floor for transplanting trees? Maybe not. Don't get too excited too soon. If crystal fruits had this effect, how come it wasn't discovered earlier? Wait, let me check the ground first. Xia Hong quickly calmed himself, squatting down to scoop up the soil. Describing it as scooping might not be accurate, it was more like digging. Yet after several attempts, he couldn't dig even a small piece of what looked fluid and softer than other ground. With brows knit, Xia Hong's heart was filled with unease. His basic strength had reached a limit of 30,000 pounds. Even regular soil could be dug out by him. But the seemingly soft ground was unyielding. He shook his head, extinguishing the idea that had just emerged in everyone's minds. It appeared soft, yet in reality it was hard. Transplanting seemed futile now. Never mind, just mark the location. Ignore this for now and let's continue north. With transplantation impossible, the group lost interest and, after marking the location, followed Xia Hong along the 1,300-meter limit to investigate north. They later encountered 4 cold beasts, but 3 were Teng Jiao, and 1 was a blue moon elf, all low-level cold beasts. Hunting Teng Jiao was cumbersome, so Xia Hong didn't act. The blue moon elf, possibly starving, attempted to ambush as 16 people passed by its tree. Having searched fruitlessly for intermediate cold beasts, the group was already frustrated. A low-level cold beast offering itself up for venting was sure to receive no mercy. The blue moon elf wasn't large, measuring only over a meter with snow-white fur, one of the weakest creatures encountered by Xia Hong so far, even weaker than the rodent, yet faster than it. The small size, rapid speed, and snow-camouflaging fur meant its ambush might have worked before Xia Hong's basic strength reached 30,000 pounds. Unfortunately, it confronted the current Xia Hong. Having ventured out to seek intermediate cold beasts, the group's vigilance was high. The timing of its attack was terribly misjudged. Without Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, or others acting, Xia Hong drew his blade, dispatching the blue moon elf in just 3 moves. This blue moon elf likely also had an innate divine ability like other cold beasts, but meeting the leader, it had no chance to display it. Zhu Shun buried the blue moon elf in the snow, marking the spot, and couldn't help but sigh. The others nodded, recalling the swift 3 slashes just now, looking at Xia Hong with admiration. Reflecting, Xia Hong was pulled from his thoughts by Zhu Shun's words, realizing the group saw a blue moon elf for the first time, and explained. Its legs, the blue moon elf's legs can, for a brief moment, exert 5 times their normal strength. This should be its innate divine ability. My speed during the skirmish was too fast for you to notice. Remember this if you encounter it again. The group nodded, finally understanding. Though Xia Hong met a blue moon elf for the first time, he had read Luo Ming's Cold Beast Atlas, which documented the blue moon elf's traits. During the skirmish, its leg power indeed almost overwhelmed him at a moment. We have been searching, finding 4 cold beasts, 3 ice trees, 2 blue jade trees, plus some unknown plants. Tonight's haul should be enough. Seeing Xia Chuan burdened with over 80 blue frost grass, along with other unknown plants, Xia Hong considered returning. Leader, just a bit further and we'll find them. Only half the night has passed, and with so many of us well prepared, we can't go back just with this blue moon elf and some blue frost grass. That's too little. Agreed, I suggest we go deeper, at least to see what intermediate cold beasts look like. Seeing his thoughts, the group began to persuade him earnestly. All right then, stash what we have and go 200 meters further. If we still find nothing, we'll return tomorrow night. Seeing the collective determination, Xia Hong nodded in agreement, deciding to venture 200 meters further. After hiding the game and plants, marking the spot, Xia Hong led them westward, plunging deeper into Redwood Ridge. Intermediate cold beasts were obviously further than anticipated. Over an hour was spent searching, yet nothing was found. In the front, Xia Hong halted, turning to everyone. Enough for tonight, Let's prepare better for tomorrow, expand the search to 2 kilometers. I just don't believe. Leader, look over there. Leader, quick, look. Before he could finish, Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan, closest to him, seemed to spot something, pointing westward to interrupt him. Xia Hong followed their gaze, momentarily dumbstruck. Chapter 182, Chapter 133, Natural Trench. On the western side, deeper into the redwood ridge, about 100 meters away from the group, there stood a towering giant tree with a diameter of over 20 meters. Due to the distance, only a vague outline could be seen. The tree was estimated to be over 100 meters tall, currently trembling slightly. It was because a colossal creature was climbing up its trunk. Despite the distance, Xia Hong could clearly see from the outline that the colossal creature was about 7 or 8 meters long, with a robust body and 2 shiny tusks visible even in the night. Snowmane. Is it a snowmane? Snowmane. Upon seeing the colossal creature, the hunting team immediately recognized its identity. Snowmane over 7 meters long. Gulp. Everyone instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva before shifting their gaze to Xia Hong at the front. Though Xia Hong's face showed delight, there was a hint of nervousness in his heart. The delight was because, after searching the entire night, they finally found an intermediate cold beast, and it was alone. This proved that not all cold beasts lived in groups like the long-tailed rodents. This made the task of hunting intermediate cold beasts significantly easier. The nervousness, however, was purely due to the size of this snow mane. A low-level snow mane was at most 4 meters long, let alone its body size. Even from a distance of 100 meters, the size of this intermediate snow mane was twice that of the largest one he had hunted before. The snow mane's strength was not weak among cold beasts. An adult snow mane had a minimum impact force of over 10,000 pounds, already the most terrifying cold beast Xia Hong had ever hunted. And that was just a low-level snow mane. This one was an intermediate. After searching the entire night, with the thought of intermediate cold beasts lingering for so long, when one truly appeared before him, Xia Hong was not as excited but quickly calmed down. There was no choice. With that size, not calming down was hard. Can we use the old method to try? Yuan Cheng straightforwardly suggested while pulling out a torch. Everyone, including Xia Hong, showed a hint of interest on their faces. But soon, Xia Hong glanced around and shook his head, speaking firmly. Judging from the distribution of intermediate cold beasts, it's impossible unless we find a second intermediate cold beast elsewhere, and use the method of attracting rodent swarms by placing torches along the way to lead it here. Upon hearing this plan, everyone immediately shook their heads in denial. The rodent swarm was one thing, but they knew nothing about the strength of intermediate cold beasts. Recklessly using a torch to attract it, especially over such a long distance, was fraught with unimaginable difficulty and danger. One careless move, and it could very well mean losing their life. Then we can only set traps first and then use the torch to lure it into a trap. We have 16 people in total. If we coordinate properly, it might be doable. Xia Chuan suggested while gesturing to Li Yun, Li Pingkai, and Zhu Shun. The 3 of them took out the animal traps from their backs and laid them on the ground, then looked up at Xia Hong. Not only them, but Xia Chuan and the other 11 people were all looking at Xia Hong, clearly waiting for him to make a decision. Torches, animal traps, 10 stone iron bows, the entire hunting team is here, and no one is seriously injured. Leader, don't hesitate. We might not be certain of success, but we must at least try. Seeing the hesitation on Xia Hong's face, Xia Chuan was the first to speak up to persuade him. Luo Yuan hesitated for a moment, but then nodded and said sincerely, "That's right, we've prepared thoroughly enough. Barring any unexpected circumstances, our camp won't have a new earth-digging realm for quite a while. With this formation, just give it a try, leader. 16 people, no matter how strong it is, at worst, we fail the hunt and we can just retreat. Leader, don't hesitate. I also think we should go for it. 16 10-stone iron bows, using maneuver tactics, we definitely have a chance." Everyone expressed their willingness to give it a try. Though Xia Hong didn't speak, he felt a warm feeling in his heart. Everyone was saying that it was okay to attempt, that they were strong enough, that they had adequate personnel and equipment, and that there was a chance of success, but they were fully aware of the risks involved. The primary reason they insisted, however, was that they all knew that the key to Xia Hong breaking through the cold resistance level lay in this intermediate cold beast. In other words, they were willing to take this risk for Xia Hong's breakthrough. Xia Hong took a deep breath, glanced at the distant giant tree, and made a decisive call. All right, then let's give it a try. Having made the decision, Xia Hong immediately began to strategize, addressing everyone. Li Yun, you three find suitable spots, dig holes, and set up the animal traps. Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, Yuan Cheng, you three come with me to observe the surrounding terrain. Everyone else, find good positions. Remember, if things go as expected, this snow mane's strength is beyond what we can handle collectively, so don't engage it directly. Use bows as the main weapon, and if they prove ineffective, abandon the hunt immediately. You have half an hour to prepare. During this time, maintain a distance of at least 100 meters to avoid alerting it and ruin the plan. After half an hour, regroup here to discuss further action. Yes, leader. The group nodded and quietly dispersed to carry out their tasks. Over the past 6 months, the 15 of them had followed him for almost 100 hunting trips, making many instructions unnecessary due to their established mutual understanding. Xia Hong confidently took Xia Chuan and the other two to scout the terrain around the giant tree where the snow mane was perched. The giant tree where the snow mane perched was over 100 meters to the west. There was no need to check further into the inner western area, so Xia Hong focused on the south and north sides. The snow mane's perception is not particularly keen among cold beasts. We circled around this area several times just now, and neither we discovered it, nor did it notice us. This one just came from the inner area, so its condition is unknown. It would be great if its head was seriously injured. Upon hearing Yuan Cheng's whimsical thinking, Xia Chuan and Luo Yuan shook their heads immediately, but in their hearts, they indeed harbored a bit of hope. There were fights among cold beasts in the Redwood Ridge, especially among the stronger intermediate cold beasts. Since this snow mane just came from the inner area, it might have lost a fight and sustained injuries. However, from a distance of 100 meters, they couldn't even discern the snow mane's facial details, let alone its physical condition. Don't harbor unrealistic fantasies. If it truly is injured, it might be even more aggressive and dangerous. The four of them reached the far north, almost exiting the Redwood Ridge, when Xia Hong crushed Yuan Cheng's fantasy. He then led the group to return south. This area is basically under Lu Shang Camp's influence. Heading further north will lead into the Arrow Bamboo Forest. When it's time to engage, we mustn't lead it north, only south or east, towards the outer areas. The snow mane is huge. I wonder if its reaction speed is fast. There are many trees around here, which makes finding a shooting position easier. It would be great if its reaction was a bit slow. Effort brings results. Upon returning to the original spot, half an hour had almost passed, with the others returning one after another. Judging by their expressions, finding position seemed effortless. The last to return were Li Yun and his group, who were responsible for setting the animal traps, along with some helpers they called upon midway. Li Yun and the others had joyful expressions. As soon as they saw Xia Hong, they eagerly spoke up. Leader, there's a natural trench in the south, 8 meters long and 3 meters wide, covered with snow, and over 6 meters deep. We three, along with others, deepened it by over 2 meters, placing all 3 animal traps around the trench. If we can lure the snow mane into it smoothly, the hunt is more than halfway successful. Lead the way, let's go take a look together. Upon hearing Li Yun describe the trench, Xia Hong's eyes lit up, and he promptly asked him to lead the way. The group followed Li Yun southward for over 200 meters, and slowly a natural trench came into view. Almost everyone, including Xia Hong, brightened up at the sight. The trench was sizable, between 2 trees over 10 meters in diameter. The snow that originally covered it had already been cleared, clearly done by Li Yun's group previously. There were animal traps placed at both ends of the trench, and one more in the center at the bottom, all connected with ropes and covered with snow. Recover the trench with snow and stick to the spot. After examining the inside and both sides, Xia Hong instantly made a decision. This natural trench seemed tailor-made for the massive snow mane. Seeing the 2 large trees flanking the trench, Xia Hong made some further arrangements. After finishing all preparations, he instructed everyone to assume their respective positions. Here's the deal. Bows are the only option. Facing it head-on is beyond me, let alone you. If you find bows ineffective, everyone retreats immediately. If they work, coordinate with each other. You don't need me to teach you how to use a bow, do you? After reiterating his point, Xia Hong paused for thought and spoke up again. Protecting yourselves is the top priority. There are many intermediate cold beasts in the Redwood Ridge, but we only have one life, got it? Got it, leader. We're unclear about the strength and abilities of an intermediate cold beast, so it's hard to set a contribution value price. However, if we manage to hunt this snow mane successfully, it would be the first intermediate prey for our great Xia camp, significantly meaningful, so I'll set its price at. He paused momentarily before continuing. 10,000 contribution points. Instantly, all 15 heads lifted in joy. Especially Zhao Long and his two brothers, whose hands holding their bows trembled slightly. Since we rely mainly on bows, should the hunt be successful, contribution points will not be equally divided. It will depend on who deals the most damage to it with their arrows. The higher the impact of your arrow, the more contribution points you'll get. With that said, Xia Hong had everyone disperse. That's all, go to your designated posts. After everyone had taken their positions, Xia Hong retrieved a torch from behind, placed it at the edge of the trench, glanced back at the massive silhouette of the snow mane on the tree, and drew a deep breath. Whoosh! In the snowy night, a torch flared up. The surrounding air instantly seemed to pause briefly. Xia Hong had already climbed a nearby big tree, holding his breath and quietly watching the movements of the giant tree to the north. The 15 others positioned around did the same. Crack! From the north, the sound of a tree branch breaking was heard. Everyone's heart tensed slightly as they stealthily turned their heads to look in that direction. Chapter 183. Chapter 134. The difficult hunt. Warm Sun Titan adds more 310. When the torch ignited, the huge creature, 100 meters away, did not leap down from the tree but instead stepped on and broke a few branches as it walked down along the trunk. Its vigilance was clearly high. Though lured by the torch, it didn't approach right away after coming down from the tree. Instead, it circled halfway around the torch first. A massive creature over 7 meters long was pacing around nearby. Even knowing it was 100 meters away, the 15 people scattered on the large trees around the trench, and Xia Hong, who was closest to the trench, all felt a sense of pressure. Such a large size yet such quiet footsteps, its level of alertness and control over its strength are far beyond that of a low-level snow mane. Xia Hong, up in the tree, gazed into the eyes of the snow mane with a growing sense of seriousness. Snort, snort. It's coming. As the torch burned for more than 2/3 of its time, the snow mane on the southern side snorted twice, finally succumbing to temptation and slowly approached. With its massive size, it only needed one step to cover over 2 meters. It covered the distance of over 100 meters in less than a minute. When it was less than 3 meters away from the torch, it stopped again. At this moment, Xia Hong from the tree had a clear view of this intermediate snow mane. Over 7 meters long, with shoulders around 3 meters high, its body was covered in a layer of thick, black-to-purple mane. From its lower limbs and abdomen, you could see the powerful, knotted muscles covered with a patterned, solid black skin. Its head alone was about half the size of a person, with 2 eyes as large as adult fists, brimming with ferocity and rage. 2 tusks extending out from its lower lip were more than 2 meters long, glinting coldly like 2 scimitars hanging from its mouth. Its back was covered with spikes, roughly estimating over 100, each resembling a steel spear, covered in frost, pointing sharply skywards, extremely intimidating. Notably, unlike a low-level snow mane, even though it was gigantic, it had excellent control over its steps while walking, leaving few footprints in the snow. This isn't a snow mane, it's a downright mountain. It looked entirely different from far and near. For safety's sake, Xia Hong hid 20 meters up in the tree. From this height looking down, he could see the snow mane's back. Only then did he truly realize how large this snow mane was. Stopped advancing, did it sense someone nearby, or is it purely cautious? Seeing the snow mane was just 1 or 2 meters from the animal trap, but stood still, Xia Hong showed an anxious expression in his eyes. If the snow mane doesn't step on it, the torch's burning time will soon be up. As the time calculation neared 14 minutes, Xia Hong could no longer hold it. The torch was beneficial against the cold beast. Lighting one for luring was the limit. Lighting another would be assisting the enemy. If the snow mane wouldn't step on it, he had to find a way to make it step. Silently, Xia Hong took the iron core bow from his back, gently knocked an iron arrow, aimed at the snow mane's right eye below, and took a deep breath. In the ice abyss world, the bow frames were made of iron, instead of wood, chiefly because no wood could withstand the power of someone from the logging realm or even earth-digging realm. Moreover, there was another significant difference between a cast iron bow frame and a wooden one. When a user applied force to bend the bow frame, the sound it emitted was extremely subtle. If careful enough, one could make no sound at all. In wild hunting, silence is the greatest weapon. Even cold beasts know how to ambush, let alone humans. Xia Hong's eyes were profound as he drew the bow to its limit, then gently released his fingers. Twang whoosh. When pulling the bow inward, it was silent due to gradual force. But when the bowstring was released and it quickly returned to its original position, the sound was loud. Fortunately, when the bow frame returned and made noise, the iron arrow had already been released. The interval between the two was less than half a breath. For the snow mane to react in such a short time. Impossible. Thunk. After hunting for over half a year and practicing hard in the camp, Xia Hong's archery, though still somewhat behind the Zhao Long trio, wasn't far, considering the snow mane was less than 20 meters from him and he was shooting from above. There was no suspense with this shot. It directly burst the snow mane's right eye. Roar! Before Xia Hong could celebrate his successful strike, a furious roar from the snow mane shook him to his core. Not just him, but trees within 2 miles were shaking. The icicles on dozens of large branches all shattered and fell, making series of crisp sounds like countless mirrors breaking simultaneously upon hitting the ground. Whoosh! So fast! A gust of fierce wind swept over. Xia Hong's pupils contracted sharply, with 2 words flashing in his mind. He had no time to react and leaped down quickly. Crack! The snow mane did not make a charge. It was a simple collision that snapped the large tree over 6 or 7 meters in diameter, where Xia Hong was hiding, breaking it in half with a thundering crash. Roar! The snow mane, still with the arrow in its right eye socket, roared to the heavens. Its 2 sharp, long tusks came rushing toward him the next moment. At this moment, Xia Hong had just leaped from the tree, and his body hadn't even landed. His pupils gleamed with cold intent as he flipped backward in midair, drawing his yi blade, doing a backflip, and forcefully swung the long yi blade in his hand. Clang! The 10-forged iron yi blade clashed with the snow mane's tusk, sparking a massive fireball. The terrifying counterforce threw Xia Hong's body 6 or 7 meters into the air. Chapter 184. Chapter 134, Difficult Hunt Warm Sun Tycoon, Extra 3/10/2. Bad news, the strength of this snow mane is at least 3 times more than mine. Good news, the iron arrow should be able to break its defense. In midair, although Xia Hong was shocked by the terrifying power of snow mane, he glanced back at the knife marks on snow mane's fangs, and the arrow embedded more than 20 centimeters deep in its eyeball, immediately realizing that iron weapons can still inflict some damage on it. Whiz! As Xia Hong continued to leap in midair to reduce the feeling of weightlessness, before he landed, the other 15 people scattered around also started shooting arrows at snow mane. Dozens of arrows came from all directions. The iron arrows blended completely into the night sky, making it difficult to discern their direction. Only the whooshing sounds could be constantly heard. Thud, thud. Just as Xia Hong predicted, the iron arrows shot by the 15 members of the hunting team in the earth-digging realm did pierce through snow mane's outer skin, but only just that. The arrows obviously only penetrated 5 or 6 centimeters, not even half of Xia Hong's recent shot. Let alone causing injury, snow mane didn't even grunt. And as Xia Hong landed, barely suppressing the surging blood within his body, his flipping movement was not even completed when the violent snow mane's wave of impact came rushing towards him. If I had known snow mane was this big, I would have brought the giant axe down. Xia Hong instinctively raised the yi blade to block horizontally, swiftly dodging sideways, but his speed was nowhere near that of snow mane. Swoosh! With the fangs on top, Xia Hong was once again knocked back along with his blade, and snow mane's left fang even penetrated a few centimeters into his right chest. If not for using the yi blade in his hand to temporarily block and retreating on his own to reduce part of snow mane's impact, that fang might have impaled his body directly. Xia Hong instinctively wanted to retreat and shift his position. But snow mane's actions were faster, sidestepping directly to the direction he was attempting to turn, delivering another terrifying thrust. This time, Xia Hong wanted to lessen the force by retreating, but it was hopeless, because behind him stood a tree with a diameter of more than 10 meters. Bam! Crack! A tree so stout, yet under Snowmane's power, couldn't withstand even 3 breaths before being snapped at its middle, and Xia Hong was sent flying backward along with the tree. Thump! With the violent impact and Snowmane's fangs still embedded in his chest, a mouthful of blood surged up to Xia Hong's throat. He forcibly swallowed it back down. As the metallic taste rushed to his mind, his ferocity was thoroughly ignited. Lost an eye and still so arrogant. No longer caring about the fangs still piercing his chest, Xia Hong leveraged the base of the fallen tree to stabilize his backward-flying body. Switching the yi blade to be held single-handedly by his left hand, his right hand lowered forward, grasping the iron arrow still embedded in Snowmane's right eye. Then, clenching his teeth and gathering strength, he seized the moment when Snowmane was still pushing forward and yanked it out fiercely. Swishing. The total length of an iron arrow is just 70 centimeters, and Xia Hong's shot had pierced a third of that in. Considering Snowmane's enormous head, even if this arrow hadn't reached the brain, it surely penetrated the entire eyeball. With Xia Hong's fierce pull, he directly tore out Snowmane's fist-sized right eyeball, and the crimson blood exploded instantly, almost dyeing his front entirely red. At the moment his body was dyed red, an intense burning sensation surged into his mind, Xia Hong's exposed skin turning red as if a layer of skin had been scorched off. And synchronously reacting was Snowmane. At the moment its eyeball was forcibly pulled out, the previously furious Snowmane immediately let out a wail, its fangs noticeably weakened. Xia Hong couldn't care less about the burning pain on his body, and taking advantage of Snowmane's momentary weakness, fiercely kicked its head with both legs, then quickly withdrew and escaped. Whiz, whiz, whiz. Such a providential opportunity. How could Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan and the others let it slip by? Just now, with Xia Hong and Snowmane tangled together, worrying about collateral damage, everyone only aimed their arrows at Snowmane's cheeks, neck, and even towards the lower limbs. Now with Xia Hong retreating naturally, they were no longer concerned. In 3 or 4 successive waves, a total of 5 or 6 dozen iron arrows continuously shot towards Snowmane's eyes, mouth, nostrils, ears, and the 7 apertures connected to the cranium. These are not ordinary iron arrows. 15 Earth-digging realm members, 10,000 pounds iron core bow, specially made iron arrows. Combined with their superb archery skills and exquisite coordination. Thud, thud. The previous arrow shot into Snowmane's left ear was still trembling, not yet settled, and another arrow immediately followed, driving the previous arrow further inside as if piling it in. The right eye, just torn out along with the eyeball by Xia Hong, was the primary focus of everyone, with at least a quarter of those 60 arrows targeting that spot. Compared to Snowmane's 7 to 8 meter long, massive body, these mere 70-centimeter iron arrows seem insignificant, of course. But the power they carry, the destruction they bring, far exceeds imagination. Especially when the 15 members specifically targeted Snowmane's pain points, the destructive force was terrifying. Roars, roar. Ever since the moment Xia Hong pulled out the iron arrow from its right eye, Snowmane's roar and cries of agony never ceased. Initially, it could dodge the incoming iron arrows. Yet as the 15 kept shifting their positions, the angles from which the iron arrows were shot became more and more tricky, and the targets of their attacks more numerous, with broader coverage. For Snowmane, trying to dodge became difficult. In just over 10 breaths, Snowmane's face was already studded with 30 or 40 iron arrows, and the blood flowing along the arrows had nearly dyed its entire face red, with even its tusks half-dyed scarlet from the splattered blood, appearing even more hideous. Chapter 185. Chapter 134, Difficult Hunt Warm Sun Tycoon Extra 3/10/3. Roar! In the distance, Xia Hong took advantage of this moment to apply the golden sore powder on his chest. Just as he was about to look up, the Snowmane opened its blood basin mouth and let out a wild roar. A massive sense of crisis suddenly surged in his heart. He immediately abandoned the action of looking up, not daring to even glance, and flattened himself on the ground. A white ice spike, more than 10 meters long, flew past, almost grazing his scalp. SSS. The white ice spike pierced through the large tree behind him, and as the snow mane suddenly dipped its head, the spike cut straight downward, slitting the massive tree in half, causing it to collapse on both sides. Its tongue is longer, more flexible, and sharper than a low-level snowman's. Prone on the ground, Xia Hong didn't need to look to know it was the long tongue of the snow mane. Realizing the tongue was slashing toward him, he didn't dare even to flip over, choosing to roll sideways on the ground instead. Whirl! With the tongue hitting the ground, not just the snow but even the entire surface had a deep trench carved into it, and as long as the snow mane turned its head, the trench line advanced straight toward the rolling Xia Hong. The long tongue resembled a sharp sword spat out from the mouth of the snow mane. But this sword was excessively long, too swift, and could extend and retract at will. More importantly, clang! In the darkness, 3 or 4 iron arrows shot from a hidden spot straight into the long tongue. Surprisingly, all these arrows, carrying tremendous force, rebounded upon hitting the tongue. The tongue of the intermediate snowman was no longer a weakness. Still dodging the snow mane's long tongue, Xia Hong's face showed astonishment upon seeing the iron arrows bounce off. His initial success in hunting low-level snowmen relied on attacking their tongues. After the snow mane evolved to intermediate level, its only weakness, the tongue, had disappeared. So was there still a chance of a successful hunt? SSS. The sharp, straight, long tongue once again severed a large tree beside him. Several lines of cold sweat trickled down Xia Hong's forehead, and he already felt some regret. Dozens of arrows were still stuck in the snow mane's face. Although its left eye hadn't been blinded, 5 or 6 arrows surrounded it, and because Xia Chuan and the others were persistently attacking it, the beast was hesitant even to open its eye, while blood from the iron arrows continued to drip. In this situation, one might say they were close to a successful hunt. Yet in reality, the snow mane showed no sign of its vitality diminishing. Instead, its movements grew faster and its ferocity kept climbing. With every attempt of its long tongue, Xia Hong dodged successfully. The snow mane seemed vexed and moved its hooves, charging straight toward him. Whirl! Just the slight movement of the immense snow mane set off fierce winds sweeping across the ground. Not just the snow, even nearby large trees were swayed by it. Facing it directly, Xia Hong felt wind strength that was terrifying to the extreme. His physique was already considered robust among humans, but compared to this snow mane, he seemed insignificant. Frost and snow were carried by the gusts, causing him to sway without even moving. Can't dodge. As this thought flashed through his mind in a lightning-fast decision, Xia Hong stopped trying to dodge. He aimed the yi blade straight ahead, switching from a knife to a spear, leaning his body to the right. He pointed the sharp blade tip at the snow mane's already blinded right eye, mustered force with both hands, and then retreated several steps quickly. Boom! The snow mane hit right where he aimed, and Xia Hong's body was like a cannonball, flung 30 to 40 meters away by the impact. Its carrying force broke through 2 large trees over 10 meters in diameter along the way. Bang! The remaining force was entirely absorbed by the ground, slamming Xia Hong into it over a meter deep. The exploded snow along the way buried him completely. Big brother! Chifa! Chifa! Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. In the darkness, a dozen or more exclamations rang out. Naturally, these came from the 15 men, including Xia Chuan, hiding around the trees. While shouting to confirm Xia Hong's status, they accelerated their arrow shooting frantically, trying to drive back the snow mane as it continued toward Xia Hong. I'm okay, keep attacking, it's doomed. From under the snow, Xia Hong's slightly weak voice came, immediately settling the 15 anxious hearts. Roar! The following chilling scream from the snow mane made them understand what Xia Hong meant by saying it was doomed. Incredibly, there was a knife handle on the snow mane's right face. A bare knife handle, showing no blade at all. It was firmly embedded in its right face. Was it that impact just now that drove the chief's yi blade directly into it? I remember the chief's yi blade is 1.7 meters in total, with a 1.5 meter blade. No wonder it's screaming so badly. The chief's blade must have pierced its brain. Indeed, it's doomed. This snow mane probably can't hold out much longer. But things, evidently, weren't as simple as everyone thought. Xia Hong, who was trying to stand up, hadn't yet distanced himself when the snow mane's long tongue cleaved through the snow mist, flying straight at him. Its vitality is astonishing. As Xia Hong continued fleeing southward, seeing no sign of slack in the snow mane's movements, His heart sank to rock bottom. Whiz! By now, with the blade lodged in the snow mane's head, Xia Hong resorted to using the iron core bow in his hand. Yet, under the pursuit of the snow mane, he couldn't maintain any accuracy, only aiming to disrupt the snow mane's tongue with his arrows. The distance from the trench keeps increasing, and the animal trap hasn't come into play at all. This hunt is diverging far from the intended plan. The snow mane continued pursuing him southward, clearly aiming to move beyond the shooting range of Xia Chuan and the other 15 men. Chapter 186. Chapter 134, Difficult Hunt Warm Sun Tycoon, Extra 3/10/4. Although Xia Chuan and the others were also pursuing closely from behind, their speed was not even comparable to Xia Hong, let alone Snow Mane, so they couldn't catch up at all. Whoosh! Xia Hong turned around and shot an arrow again, then quickly turned his head to continue escaping, spotting a large tree over 10 meters thick in front of him. Gritting his teeth, he wore a determined look on his face. Swish! Upon reaching the large tree, Xia Hong sharply turned his head to avoid a long tongue and pushed the tree trunk with his hand as his body veered westward. The furious snow mane turned with him, jerked its head, and its straight tongue sliced through the air like a longsword, slashing horizontally toward him. Scratch! Xia Hong moved swiftly, leaping across 2 large trees after turning, and the long tongue of snow mane chopped down those 2 trees in succession, relentlessly pursuing him. Suddenly, just after turning westward, Xia Hong changed direction again. This time, however, he turned northward. Spread out, don't chase anymore. I'll lure it back to the trench side. With a loud shout, Xia Hong's words were understood immediately by Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and the other 15 people who had just arrived from behind. They all quickly retreated and dispersed. The 2 consecutive turns actually formed a complete reversal. Roar! During the first turn, Snow Mane didn't react much. But the second turn brought them almost brushing against Snow Mane's flank as they ran back. Xia Hong's teasing behavior made the already enraged Snow Mane even more agitated. It twisted to watch Xia Hong, its crimson pupils suddenly constricting, and its extended tongue, twisting in midair like a white serpent, lunged instantly at the turning Xia Hong. From Snow Mane's flank, Xia Hong turned his head to see the softening, twisting tongue and showed no surprise on his face. The tongue of a low-level snowman could bend. There's no need to mention an intermediate one. He lowered his head, dodging the tongue, stood up, drew his bow, and shot another arrow at Snow Mane's not yet retracted tongue. After firing, he immediately stood up and continued his northern escape. The entire set of movements flowed seamlessly, like running water. Swishing! The arrow sliced through Snow Mane's tongue, this time making a distinct sound of tearing flesh instead of the usual whoosh. Fleeing Xia Hong's expression stiffened, though he dared not stop his feet. He seized a gap and suddenly turned back to glance. A real arrow scar appeared on Snow Mane's tongue. So that's it. I was wondering, when it first attacked with its tongue, it always came straight, continuously chasing me in one direction. An intermediate snowman's tongue, bending and softening, is at its most fragile. When you see its tongue bending and softening, continue shooting, it works. With this information, Xia Hong informed the others, immediately changing strategy, no longer fleeing straightforwardly but weaving through the trees in the forest. Sure enough, the furious Snow Mane had lost its sanity, knocking down several large trees along the way but still not catching up. It instantly softened its tongue, twisting to track. Puff! The others, prompted by Xia Hong, seized the moment of Snow Mane's softening tongue and pierced through its tongue root with over a dozen iron arrows instantly. Roar! The pained Snow Mane screamed continuously, yet its momentum to catch up with Xia Hong did not relent a bit. This time, however, it dared not soften its tongue again, keeping it taut as before, wildly slashing at the front-running Xia Hong. The trees along the path were chopped down by the long tongue. The ground snow was sent flying by Snow Mane's terrifying impact. The places Xia Hong fought with it were almost all covered with snow fog. The ground couldn't be found a single clean piece. Clank! A loud metallic collision sound echoed first, followed by Snow Mane thudding heavily into the snow. Despite fleeing in front, Xia Hong heard the sound, his eyes lighting up with excitement. He hesitated only for a moment before stopping his escape and swiftly turning around. He leaped into the spot where Snow Mane had just fallen. It fell into the pit. Tighten the rope of that animal trap on the south side. Everyone pull hard. don't let it get up." Xia Hong shouted loudly, and Xia Chuan and the others responded immediately, putting down their iron core bows and all rushing to the south side of the pit, quickly finding the rope on the ground. As it turned out, Snow Mane, unconsciously led by Xia Hong while pursuing northward, reached the natural trench again from earlier, not only stepping on the southern animal trap but also toppled into the pit head first. Roar's roar. With its body tumbling once, Snow Mane's panic was audible from its cries. Unfortunately, such a heaven-sent opportunity would not be missed by either Xia Hong or the others. The first to jump into the pit, Xia Hong directly stomped on Snow Mane's head, grabbed the handle of the Yi blade embedded in its right cheek, and yanked it out. Puff! As the Yi blade was pulled out, crimson blood sprayed fiercely, and Xia Hong, being the first in line, was splattered all over. The intense burning sensation invaded his mind, but Xia Hong paid no heed, for the pained Snow Mane on the ground had already begun frantically flipping and struggling. Once a sharp weapon is inserted into the body, as long as it remains still, the wound can endure for a while. But once extracted, the collapse affects not just the wound but also the will. The Snow Mane on the ground was in that exact state now. The Yi blade, a moment ago thrust 1.5 meters into its right cheek, induced unbearable pain, barely suppressed by ferocity and willpower. But with Xia Hong's fierce yank, the pain multiplied several times instantly. Chapter 187. Chapter 134, Difficult Hunt Warm Sun Giant adds more 3/10/5. Moreover, Xia Hong didn't just pull it out. Taking advantage of the fact that Snow Mane's struggles were not too violent at first, he reversed his grip on the Yi blade with both hands and frantically stabbed at its eyes, nose, mouth, and even ears dozens of times. Roars, roars, roar. After these dozens of stabs, Xia Hong instantly became a man covered in blood. And Snow Mane exploded with even greater motion than before. The 15 people on the outside had already grabbed the ropes attached to the animal trap. Worried that the ropes might snap, Xia Chuan also added on the white thread. But even so, the 15 people holding the ropes couldn't last beyond 3 breaths. Snow Mane's body twisted directly in the trench, deforming the animal trap on its right leg. Then it went berserk, extending its straightened tongue around, slashing indiscriminately. Whirn, whirn, whoosh, whoosh. The long tongue swung like a sharp sword, the sword edge howling relentlessly. The 15 people on the south side kept changing positions, evading while not loosening the ropes in their hands at all. Xia Hong atop the pit was also adjusting his position, but because he was the closest, he was actually stuck in Snow Mane's blind spot. Unless Snow Mane softened its tongue, it couldn't attack him at all. Exhausted, "Throw me a section of rope, Zhao Long. You 3 continue firing from the trees, the rest follow me, don't let it get up." Xia Chuan on the south side tossed over a section of rope. Xia Hong grasped the blade in one hand and caught the rope with the other, looping it around the struggling neck of Snow Mane. In the gap of looping the rope, the out-of-control Snow Mane suddenly had a strange gleam in its pupils. Its straightened tongue instantly softened and coiled towards Xia Hong. Thud! However, just as Snow Mane softened its tongue, a swift blade light sliced directly through the air. Almost without suspense, Snow Mane's long tongue was severed. "Just waiting for you to do that, I thought you could hold it in." At this moment, Xia Hong, with single-handedly clasping the blade, his whole body blood-red, smiled hauntingly like a fierce ghost. The rope he had been gripping tightly, he had long tossed aside. That rope was merely bait to lure Snow Mane into making a move. Being this close, how could he not guard against Snow Mane's long tongue? Roar! With its tongue severed, Snow Mane roared madly, struggling even more fiercely. The 12 people on the south side with Xia Chuan found themselves unable to tug it, the rope continuously slipping from their hands, but they knew it was a critical moment. No matter how the rope slipped, they immediately picked it up again, restricting it for even one more second counted. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. The 3 on the tree, Zhao Long among them, took advantage of the open-mouthed Snow Mane, drew their bows and shot arrows continuously, several iron arrows penetrating through Snow Mane's lips and tongue, straight to the throat. Almost there, hook the ropes to the trees, everyone, move away immediately. At Xia Hong's command, Xia Chuan and the others pulling on the ropes immediately scattered, each holding onto a segment of rope. The 3 in the trees, including Zhao Long, also stopped shooting arrows, leapt down, and received a section of rope from Xia Chuan. then circled around several nearby large trees. "Is it ready? Ready? Ready, leader. Ready on my side too. Ready? Disperse." After confirming that everyone responded, Xia Hong gave the order. And at this point, the snow mane on the ground was already standing up, panting heavily. Not to mention the eyes, Snow Mane's entire face couldn't find a good piece of flesh. Its head was almost dyed in blood red, its emotions discernible only through its heavily weighty breathing sounds. "Roar!" Snow Mane roared in angry fury, kicked off with its limbs, and charged fiercely toward the last place Xia Hong's voice came from. Crack! However, its charge did not work as before. To be precise, it didn't rush out at all. Countless ropes mixed with white thread entangled not only around its body, but also linked and wrapped around the dozens of large trees surrounding it. When it moved, it simultaneously tugged those dozen or so large trees. The trees within this area were at least a dozen meters in diameter. The dozen or so large trees selected by Xia Hong and the others, as soon as they were pulled. Virtually all the surrounding large trees moved along. With Snowmane's strength, breaking one big tree would be a breeze. Breaking 2 trees together wouldn't be a big problem. 5 trees in front might be a bit strenuous. If it were 10 trees, it would probably need to gather strength. With over a dozen trees, it would face some pressure. Dozens or even hundreds of trees. Not to mention one Snow Mane, even 3 more. Wouldn't be able to break them all at once. That was the problem this Snow Mane was facing now. Crack! Snow Mane strained to the point where its limbs were taut, but only then did the outermost trees start to fracture. When it strained until its body flushed red, only 3 or 4 of the outermost trees had collapsed. Pant! Snow Mane stopped straining and gasped twice, looking around at the ropes with blood-red pupils, finally showing a trace of fear. Realizing its movement was restricted, even escape was a luxury. Snow Mane finally, in hindsight, started to feel fear. It stretched out its long tongue, beginning to quickly cut the ropes entangling it. You wish. Its movements are already restricted. Archers, get ready. After devising for so long, now successfully, Xia Hong wouldn't give it a chance. 16 people spread around the 10 or so large trees surrounding Snow Mane, drew their bows and arrows, and shot frantically, with almost no gaps in between. The countless ropes combined with surrounding trees' strength rendered Snow Mane's mobility down to a mere fraction. Facing these iron arrows, it couldn't even flee, only able to avoid them to the greatest extent by turning its head. Thud, thud. Chapter 188. Chapter 134, Difficult Hunt. Warm Sun Tycoon, Extra 3/10/6. Long defense will inevitably lead to loss, especially when mobility is already limited. Soon, Snow Mane's head was once again pierced by hundreds of iron arrows. Fortunately, Xia Hong had provided the hunters with 50 iron arrows each. Otherwise, given how they were using them, the arrows might have run out before Snow Mane died. Hew, hew, hew. As Snow Mane's movement slowed down, the hit rate of the iron arrows increased. Under Xia Hong's leadership, each member of the hunting team became exceedingly cautious. No matter how slowly Snow Mane moved, they were not the least bit negligent and continued to shoot arrows mercilessly. Bang! After the team fired consecutively, almost a dozen rounds, Snow Mane's breath weakened to the extreme, finally unable to hold on. Its huge body collapsed into the pit. After struggling for such a long time, it never escaped that natural trench. By all accounts, everyone should have stopped by then. However, even so, they didn't need an order from Xia Hong. Everyone still didn't stop. They continued to shoot arrows at Snow Mane in the trench, until the first person emptied the arrow quiver on his back and finally stopped. Then the second, the third, the fourth. Until everyone had emptied the arrows in their hands, no one stepped forward. All 15 eyes turned to Xia Hong, who was already a blood-stained figure at the front. Don't rush, let's wait a bit. Though Xia Hong breathed a sigh of relief, he hesitated as he gazed at the pit from more than 10 meters away, not letting the others advance. He had experienced Snow Mane's cunning nature before. Lower-level cold beasts, due to their limited strength, couldn't be crafty in his presence. But the one in front of him was an intermediate cold beast. Chuan, give it a try. Upon hearing this, Xia Chuan nodded, and with a light pull on the white thread, a broken tree was dragged over from the side. The rest of the team stepped back a few steps, leaving Xia Chuan alone to slowly drag the tree to the edge of the pit. Xia Chuan was smart. He didn't pull it over with a wide, open movement but instead slowed down, creating noises akin to human footsteps. Due to the elevation, everyone's eyes could focus precisely on Snow Mane in the pit. At that moment, naturally, no one dared to lose focus. All eyes were fixed intently on it. As expected, the moment the tree reached the edge of the pit, Snow Mane's eyes suddenly snapped open. As if revived, it suddenly flipped its body, aiming the spikes on its back at the tree by the pit's edge, and then quickly shook its body. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. Dodge, quickly dodge, get to the ground. The moment Snow Mane revealed its back, Xia Hong had already guessed. He immediately shoved Luo Yuan beside him, and then shouted a command to everyone, leaping off the tree directly. The other 14 people, including Xia Chuan, who was controlling the tree, also quickly followed him down the tree. The hundreds of cold spikes on Snow Mane's back, resembling steel spears, detached from its body and shot out rapidly in all directions like javelins. Hundreds of cold spikes sliced through the night, casting a chilling glow, beautiful like a storm of pear blossoms, yet filled with murderous intent. Everywhere they passed, trees collapsed and the ground shattered. Even the air seemed to be sliced into countless pieces. Roar! Bang, bang, bang! After the furious roar, a chaotic and hurried shuffle of footsteps followed. It wants to run, chase it. Rising from the snow-covered ground where he'd been hiding, Xia Hong saw the empty trench and the silhouette of Snow Mane not far away. His expression immediately darkened. After all this effort, if I let you escape, that won't do. Leader Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai are injured. Qiu Peng, Ying Xuan stay to look after them, the rest follow me to pursue quick. Even as Xia Hong spoke, he had already started the chase. The others, knowing the situation was urgent, needed no further communication. The two named stayed behind, while the rest immediately followed. Chapter 189, Chapter 135, The Fearless Mirror Immortal 3-in-1. Snow Mane could pretend to be dead, and pretend it did well. This wasn't something new. But the fact that it could shoot out those hundreds of quills on its back, Xia Hong really hadn't thought of that. Thud, thud, thud. The ground trembled continuously under Snow Mane's frantic escape, and amidst the flying snowflakes in the rear were the figures of Xia Hong and the other 11 pursuing relentlessly. It seems the quills on its back are its ultimate move. Luckily, we mainly used bows today. This counts as a lucky hit. In the midst of his quick chase, Xia Hong glanced at the wound on his shoulder, his eyes showing a hint of relief. If it weren't for lacking strength, he wouldn't have let the other 15 disperse and hide in the surrounding trees, using bows to hunt Snow Mane. On the other hand, thinking about it, if everyone's strength were stronger, unafraid of facing Snow Mane head-on, and using over a dozen people to attack closely, Snow Mane wouldn't have waited until the end to pull such a move. Even when standing so far away, and even though he had everyone jump down from the trees in advance, his shoulder was still grazed by a quill shot out by Snow Mane, leaving a palm-sized wound. Why are 3 people missing? Xia Hong turned his head to see how everyone else's injuries were, and found only 8 people following him, immediately asking. Zhu Shun and Zhu Yuankai were injured. He had left Qiu Peng and Ying Xuan to take care of them. Now there should be 11 people with him, not just 8. Xia Chuan, panting slightly, answered. Zhao Long and the others stayed back to collect arrows, worried we might run out. They should catch up soon. Hearing this, Xia Hong nodded, his eyes showing a hint of approval. They were chasing Snow Mane now, indeed only carrying bows without arrows left. Just in the hunt of Snow Mane, all of them had shot all their arrows, though most of them remained stuck in Snow Mane. Quite a few were also on the ground. Patter, 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 patter. Leader, it's slowing down. Hearing the change in Snow Mane's footsteps, Luo Yuan immediately warned. Seeing Snow Mane's staggering figure, no longer in the manic running state, Xia Hong smiled with joy. Let's slow down too, keep our distance and wait for Zhao Long and the others to bring arrows. Despite being 90% sure Snow Mane was at its wits' end. Yet the earlier scene still startled Xia Hong slightly. Who knows what other life-saving tricks or moves Snow Mane might have. It's best to be cautious. Even with these thoughts, Xia Hong watched Snow Mane continue on, glancing ahead with a hint of worry on his face. Snow Mane had fled westward, deeper into Redwood Ridge. In just a short time, it had brought them about 3 kilometers in, beyond the periphery. counting more than a kilometer before. All 9 of them were about 4 to 5 kilometers deep into Redwood Ridge by now. We can't go any deeper. Attracting other cold beasts would be the end. At this moment, not only Xia Hong, but the others also noticed the unfamiliar surroundings. The variety of trees increased, and there seemed to be glimpses of some colossal creatures in the distance. The environment here was evidently much quieter than outside. Except for the commotion caused by Snow Mane's escape and their footsteps, no other sounds could be heard. Every view was shrouded in shadows and darkness. This deep area of Redwood Ridge they had never ventured before. If an accident occurred, the outcome would be hard to predict. Xia Hong struggled internally. Reason told him to stop pursuing, yet the desire for intermediate cold beast blood made it hard for him to abandon the already gravely injured Snow Mane. "Leader, we've arrived." Fortunately, Zhao Long and his brothers had arrived from behind. Not only did the 3 arrive, but each held a bundle of iron arrows in both hands. "Move up, keep it pinned down, don't let it escape further." Xia Hong's face lit up with joy. This was why he nodded in approval when Xia Chuan mentioned Zhao Long and the others going to fetch arrows. When Snow Mane made its hasty escape, he hadn't thought they were out of arrows. He only thought Snow Mane was at death's door, and catching up would have it in hand. If it weren't for Zhao Long and the others being so considerate, they'd either continue following Snow Mane deeper in or risk their lives. Either method would be fraught with danger. Most iron arrows were lodged in Snow Mane, and given the limited time, they probably didn't have time for an extensive search. Zhao Long and the others brought about 60 to 70 iron arrows, not a massive number. But these 60 to 70 arrows were enough to issue the final death knell to the grievously injured Snow Mane. Whoosh and whoosh and whoosh. Before shooting, the 12 had already sped up and dispersed to both sides of Snow Mane. Over 60 iron arrows flew rapidly from both sides. Their targets were all directed at Snow Mane's head. Snow Mane, already staggering, got shot left and right by the continuous iron arrows from both sides. Its head, already riddled with iron arrows and grievously wounded, was shot multiple times more, its gait deforming and its massive body twitching and stopping. Finally, after stumbling over 20 meters more, Snow Mane's vitality began to drain faster. A withering aura spread from its massive body. Bang! In the end, its limbs finally went limp.